You are watching Eswatini TV. Sibuko Semaswati.
A very good afternoon, Eswatini, and welcome to your favorite teleeducation program, Home Study. My name is Lerato Mabilisa, and also joining me in the studio is my co-host Nogwazi Dlamini and the sign language interpreter Nompumelelo Hatebe. A very good afternoon, Nogwazi.
A good afternoon to you, Lerato, and a good afternoon to our viewers back at home. Welcome back to Home Study on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. We hope that you are going to enjoy your day of learning as you always do, of course.
Speaking of learning, let's just get right into it. What does today's timetable look like?
Okay, everyone back at home, this is what your day looks like today of learning. From now until 2:30 p.m., we have Siswati for grades 1 and 2. From 2:30 p.m. until 3 p.m., we have English language for grades 3 and 4. From 3 p.m. until 3:30 p.m., we have religious education for grades 5 and 6. From 3:30 p.m. until 4 p.m., we have religious education for forms 1 and 2. From 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m., we have Siswati for the form 4s. And the last subject for the day is religious education for the form 4s from 4:30 p.m. until 5 p.m.
Do not forget, dear viewer, that we also have social media platforms, which are YouTube and Facebook, where we are live from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. And do not forget to click that subscribe button so that whenever we are live, you get a notification.
Also, a reminder about our WhatsApp number that pops up on your screen from time to time. To use that number to text us, please, any questions that you might have during your lessons. Now, without wasting any time, after the break is the lesson, which is Siswati for grades 1 and 2 with Nozipho Mabunza. Lerato will be taking you through that. We'll be right back after this.
Why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license and attracts a fine of 500 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment.
And the industry is definitely blooming, ladies and gentlemen, so that's what we have for you. But we'll be right back just after the break and we'll give you more of Miss V.
Pay my TV license. That's why I can enjoy the benefits of an enhanced industry and keep track with recent transformation.
Mommy, who paid for a TV license and what are they paying for?
The owners of TV set and a gadget with a tuner like DVD set have to pay.
Pay your TV license at NetBank with the details provided on screen. Or use your cell phone via the mobile money pay. You could also visit your nearest post office and pay there. Pay your TV license via Eswatini Mobile Imali. Any TV device retailer can purchase a license to trade. Pay your TV license and enhance the industry.
With the change in technology, out-of-home digital media is designed to grab the attention of people who are always on the go. You can now watch your favorite show, Usile Breakfast Show, and Dinzaba at 7 on your favorite YouTube channel.
It's simple. You can stream these shows by following these quick, easy steps. Number 1, open YouTube. Number 2, search for Eswatini TV and click on Eswatini TV. Number 3, after you had entered on Eswatini TV, look for Dinzaba or KPS. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell button to get notifications of our video uploads and streams. And lastly, enjoy the stream. Stay home and watch Eswatini TV. Stay safe.
Ngikuvusele mbukeli ngiphinze ngikwemukele eluhlelweni lwakho loluthanza kakhulu i-home study. Libito lami ngilirato Mabilisa. Kanti ke kulesikhathi samanje uvele ukhona thishela wesiswati, thishela Nozipho Mabunza, lotabe afundzisa libanga lesibili. Ngikuvusele thishela ngiphinze ngikwemukele elihlelweni.
Yebo sesilirato unjani?
Ngiphilile unjani wena namhla?
Ngiyaphila nami.
Okay. Namuhla sitabe sifunza ngemsimvo dli.
Yebo sis.
Ubhekeka ukuthi abafundzeni umfundze kupheleni kwalesifundo.
Kubhekeka ukuthi akhone kufunza emagama esiswati, aphinze akhone kuwabhala kahle.
Okay, ngaphandle kokucitha isikhathi ngicela usicale isifundo sakho.
Ngiyakubingelela mfundzi ekhaya, lokubingelela konguthishela wakho wesiswati Nozipho Mabunza. Lotawube etfula sifundo sethu selibanga lesibili pheceleti grade 2. Lapho sitabe sibuka khona umsindvo dl. Lapho sitabe sibuka khona emagama lakhiwe ngawo lomsindvo. Usetawubukela sifundo sakho ngemfundzi, sonzeta naku lokulandzelako. Ipenseli yekubhala kanye netincwadzi takho, incwadzi yemfundzi, incwadzi yekusebentela likusasa liyakhanya, tincwadzi telibanga lesibili. Asicale ke mfundzi ngekuthi sibuke sihloko sesifundo sethu. Kwetfula umsindvo dl. Sihloko sethu ke mfundzi sinetihlokwana letimbili. Sekucala kubuyeketa umsindvo dl. Kubuyeketa umsindvo d. Kwesibili kubuyeketa umsindvo l. Asichubeke ngemfundzi. Asesicale ngekuthi sibuke ukuthi yini lebhekeke ukuthi ukhone kuyenta ekupheleni kwalesifundo. Ubhekekile ke mfundzi ukuthi ukhone kwekucala kukhumbula umsindvo d. Kwesibili kukhumbula umsindvo l. Yomibili lemisindvo sayifunza ebangeni lekucala pheceleti grade 1. Kwesithathu ke mfundzi ubhekekile ukuthi ulalele usho umsindvo dl. Kwesine ubhekekile ukuthi ukhone kusho emagama lanemsindvo dl. Kwesihlanu ubhekekile ukuthi ukhone kufunza umsindvo dl. Kwesithupha ubhekekile ukuthi ukhone kubona umsindvo dl kulokubhaliwe. Kwekugcina ubhekekile ukuthi ukhone kubhala umsindvo dl. Asichubeke ke mfundzi wami, sicale sifundo sethu. Utawukhumbula mfundzi ebangeni lekucala sifunze umsindvo d. Usawukhumbula yini ukuthi uvakala kanjani uma sewunangamisa? Bona bongamisa usabakhumbula yini? Asicale sikhumbutane bongamisa. A, E, I, O, U. Asiphinze mfundzi wami. A, E, I, O, U. Asikhumbutane umsindvo d. Sewunangamisa. Da, de, di, do, du. Asiphinze mfundzi wami. Da, de, di, do, du. Asichubeke mfundzi. Nanga ke emagama lana lomsindvo d. Lana lomsindvo d. Doba. doba. Nangu-ke umsindvo D. Mfundzi wami uyavela. Daladi. Daladi. Nalapha mfundzi wami naka umsindvo D. Lidada. Lidada. Phindza mfundzi wami unake umsindvo D. Deda. Deda. Deda ke mfundzi wami siyawubona umsindvo deda sowubhaleke ngekwehluka. Lolu hlavu lelisekucaleni luhlavu lolukhulu lwemsindvo D. Deda ke mfundzi wami libito lendzawo. Libito lendzawo ke mfundzi wami uyakhumbula sathi silibhala ngeluhlavu lolukhulu. Lomunye umsindvo lesiufunze ebangeni lekucala ngumsindvo L. Wona usawukhumbula yini ukuthi uvakala njani uma sewunangamisa? Asichubeke mfundzi wami. Nangu lo msindvo sewunangamisa. La, le, li, lo, lu. Asiphinze mfundzi wami sifunze umsindvo L sewunangamisa. La, le, li, lo, lu. Uyawubona yini lo umsindvo L? Lidada. Lidada. Nawu ke mfundzi wami umsindvo L. Lapha sewuhambisana nangamisa I. Lala. Lala. Nalapha mfundzi wami nangu umsindvo L. Unake. Lilala. Lilala. Naka mfundzi wami umsindvo L. Kuleli bito lelithi lilala. Lolo. Lolo. Lolo ke mfundzi wami libito lemuntfu. Utawukhumbula mfundzi wami kutsi sathi nasibhala libito lemuntfu silicala ngeluhlavu lolukhulu. Lapha nje mfundzi wami nalu luhlavu lolukhulu silubhala kanjena ke mfundzi wami. Namuhla sitawufunza umsindvo lohlanganise lemisindvo lemibili. Uyangiva yini mfundzi wami? Ngithi namuhla sitawufunza umsindvo lohlanganise lemisindvo lemibili. Lokungu D na L. Lesayifunza ebangeni lekucala. Asengiwubite lo msindvo lesiufunza lamuhla uthi D uthi L. Ngasemfundzi wami nyalo ke asesiuhlanganise nangamisa. La, le, li, lo, lu. Asiphinze mfundzi wami sifunze la, dle, dli, dlo, dlu. Cabanga ligama lelinalomsindvo mfundzi. Bakuyisa kuphi mfundzi uma ugula? Yebo mfundzi wami, imphendvulo ithi esibhedlela. Nangu ke mfundzi wami umsindvo li. Siyawubona lapha uhambisana nangamisa Uyawubona yini lo msindvo lesiufunza lamuhla kuleli bito esibhedlela. Asichubeke mfundzi wami. Sibuke nasi sitfombe. Yini lena mfundzi wami? Yini lena le lapha kulesitfombe? Lokhu lapha kulesitfombe mfundzi sidleke. Sikubita ngekuthi sidleke. Sidleke ke mfundzi wami indlu yetinyoni. Sikubita ngekuthi sidleke. Indlu yetinyoni. Siyibita ngekuthi sidleke. Naka ke mfundzi wami umsindvo so hambisana nangamisa so hambisana nangamisa bese sikubita sithi dleke, sidleke, sidleke. Asichubeke ke mfundzi wami, sibuke nasi sitfombe lesinye. Kwentekani mfundzi wami lapha? Lapha mfundzi wami sibona sandla siphethe ihamela. Lesandla siyabhidlita, sibhidlita ini? Lubonza. Sibhidlita ini? Lubonza. Bhidlita. Bhidlita. Nangu ke nalapha mfundzi wami umsindvo dl. Siyawubona uhambisana nangamisa dli. Sikubita sithi siubita lo msindvo sithi dli. Asichubeke mfundzi wami, sibuke nasi lesinye sitfombe. Ingabe ubonani lapha mfundzi wami? Lapha mina ngibona, ngabe wena uyakubona yini? Ngibona banana, sinkwa, emaqanza, lubisi, nalokunye lokunyenti. Konke lokhu ke mfundzi sikubita ngekuthi kudla. Yini ke mfundzi wami? Kudla. Nalapha ke mfundzi wami siyawubona umsindvo umsindvo uhambisana naye phela ngamisa bese sithi dla. Asichubeke mfundzi wami, sibuke nasi lesinye sithombe. Sitsiteke mfundzi uyakuphi uma ugula? Yebo mfundzi wami, sitsite esibhedlela. Esibhedlela. Lesithombe lesi ke mfundzi sithombe sesibhedlela. Nalapha mfundzi wami siyachubeka, siyawubona umsindvo uhambisana naye ngamisa nasi ke lesinye sithombe. Yini lena mfundzi wami? Lolu lunyawo lesilwane. Lunyawo lesilwane asisho ukuthi lunyawo. Sithi yini ke mfundzi? Sidladla. Sithi yini ke? Sidladla. Nalapha mfundzi wami nangu umsindvo so uhambisana na ngamisa nabongamisa lababili sithini sithi dla dla sidla dla asichubeke mfundzi wami naka mfundzi uma sibhala emabito ebantfu tibongo tebantfu netindzawo sicalisa ngeluhlavu lolukhulu nati-ke tibonelo ke mfundzi dlalisile dlalisile dlani dlani sitsiteke mfundzi wami netibongo tebantfu sitibhala ngeluhlavu lolukhulu naku njelana mfundzi dlamini dlamini dlomo dlomo dladla dladla kulesibongo lesi ke mfundzi siyawubona umsindvo sowuvela kabili kunemsindvo losekucaleni nemsindvo losemkhatsini lo msindvo losekucaleni nguwo lesiubhala ngeluhlavu lolukhulu lona losemkhatsini asiubhali ngeluhlavu lolukhulu kanjalo ke mfundzi wami nalapha kulesibongo lesi lesithi dludlu dludlu nelibito lendzawo ke mfundzi nalo licalisa ngeluhlavu lolukhulu dlangeni dlangeni naka mfundzi kuthi akusiwo wonke lo msindvo loba luhlavu lolukhulu ngulona wekuqala kuphela ngulode lesiubhala kanje asichubeke mfundzi wami sibuke na indzatshana lenesihloko lesithi umdlali webhola dlani lephume encwadzini yemfundzi likusasa liyakhanya likhasi le22 asicale ke mfundzi dlani mhlambe singacali ke mfundzi asibuyele esihlokweni sethu sibuke yena umsindvo umdlali dlani nalapha siyawubona umsindvo asicale ke mfundzi dlani dladla ngumdlali webhola udlalela licembu lesikolwa libito laleli cembu kuthiwa bafana belidleledlele alidliwa nalidlala leli qembu dlani ulimele itolo uma badlala ibhola udlobheke liso agijima dlamini lobadlalisa ibhola ummikise esibhedlela akakufuni kudla kwasesibhedlela dlani Stawuphinze sifunze lendzaba sisafunza kipilitela onke emagama lanemsindvo Dlani dladla ngumdlali webhola. Dlani dladla ngumdlali webhola. Likhona yini mfundzi ligama lapha lelinemsindvo d? Yebo mfundzi wami, ngiyalibona. Ngiyathemba nawe uyalibona. Dlani lesibili, dladla lekugcina umdlali, ngumdlali. Udlalela licembu lesikolo. Udlalela licembu lesikolo. Likhona yini mfundzi wami ligama lelinemsindvo dl lapha? Yebo mfundzi wami, udlalela. Libito laleli cembu kuthiwa Bafana Belidleledlele. Libito laleli cembu kuthiwa Bafana Belidleledlele. Asikipilitele mfundzi. Yebo mfundzi wami, nali ligama lelithi belidleledlele. Ingabe usakhumbula yini mfundzi ukuthi sikipilitela ini lapha? Sikipilitela, yebo mfundzi wami, sikipilitela emagama lanemsindvo dl. Asichubeke ke mfundzi wami. Alidliwa nalidlala lelicembu. Alidliwa nalidlala lelicembu. Likhona yini lapha mfundzi wami ligama lelinemsindvo dl? Yebo mfundzi wami, alidliwa nalidlala. Dlani ulimele itolo uma badlala ibhola. Dlani ulimele itolo uma badlala ibhola. Likhona yini mfundzi wami ligama lelinemsindvo dl lapha? Yebo mfundzi. Dlani badlala. Badlala. Udlobheke liso agijima. Udlobheke liso agijima. Likhona yini mfundzi wami ligama lelinemsindvo dl lapha? Yebo mfundzi wami, udlobheke. Dlamini lobadlalisa ibhola ummikise esibhedlela. Dlamini lobadlalisa ibhola ummikise esibhedlela. Ngabe likhona yini mfundzi wami ligama lelinemsindvo dl lapha? Yebo mfundzi wami. Dlamini lekucala dlamini, lesibili lobadlalisa, lekugcina esibhedlela. Akakufuni kudla kwasesibhedlela dlani. Akakufuni kudla kwasesibhedlela dlani. Likhona yini mfundzi wami ligama lelinemsindvo dl lapha? Yebo mfundzi wami, kudla kwasesibhedlela dlani. Sesikipilitele ke mfundzi emagama endzabeni yetfu. Asichubeke sibuke emagama latfolakale kuyo lendzaba. Asifundze kanye kanye mfundzi. Dlani. Dlani. Dladla. Dladla. Udlalela. Udlalela. Belidleledlele. Alidliwa. Nalidlala. Badlala. Udlobhekile. Dlamini lobadlalisa esibhedlela kudla. Asichubeke mfundzi wami, sibuke nangumsebenti lesitawenda kanye kanye. Matanisa sitfombe nelibito, udvwebe lilayini. Asibuke nasi isithombe sekuqala mfundzi. Yini lena mfundzi? Lokho mfundzi sidleke. Udweba line linye liye egameni lelithi sidleke. Yini lokho mfundzi? Lokho sidladla. Udweba lilayini linye leliya egameni lelithi sidladla. Asichubeke mfundzi wami. Sibuke isithombe lesilandzelako. Yini lokho mfundzi? Lesi sithombe sesibhedlela. Udweba line liye egameni lelithi sibhedlela. Yini lokho mfundzi lokulandzelako? Lokhu kudla. Udweba line linye leliya kuphi egameni lelithi kudla. Asichubeke mfundzi. Sikhumbutane ukuthi sifunze umsindvo dl. Sawubona unangamisa dla, dle, dli, dlo, dlu. Sibese sibona emagama lana lomsindvo. Sidladla, kudla, dlala, lidlele, udlobheke. Siphindze sabuka indlela lesibhala ngayo emabito ebantfu, tibongo tebantfu kanye nemabito etindzawo. Lokhu ke sitsite sikucalisa ngeluhlavu lolukhulu da. Bese ubhaleka kanjena ke lo msindvo. Nangu mfundzi wami, nati tibonelo lesitibukile. Uma ubhala libito lakho lelicala ngalomsindvo sicalisa ngemsindvo lomkhulu d. Nanga emabito ebantfu lesiwabone esifundweni setfu. Dlalisile, dlalisile, dlani, dlani. Nati tibongo lesitibonile. Dlamini, dludlu. Libito lendzawo lesilibonile. Dlangeni. Sichubeke mfundzi. Vula incwadzi yakho likusasa liyakhanya incwadzi yekusebentela likhasi le23 pheceleti 23 wende umsebenti 2 pheceleti 2. Kwekucala utawukhetha emagama lanemsindvo dl. Kwekugcina utawugcwalisa tikhala ngemsindvo dl.
Okay, ngibonge kakhulu thishela ukuthi ube nathi namhla besimnanzi kakhulu sifumbo sesiswati.
Ngiyabonga sisilerato nami.
Okay. Mangabe ufunza libanga lesithathu ngoma lesine sonzela utobukela mabona kudze wakho thishela we English language uyabuya khona manje.
Eswatini, your favorite show, is back. The Spotlight Season 2 returns with an exciting new twist. We are taking the kingdom's #1 music talent search digital. One lucky winner will drive away in a brand new Kia Picanto, get a recording deal, and walk away with fantastic prizes, including a trendy Huawei P40 Pro. This year, the application process has been made better, easier, and brighter. To apply, Simply follow the application process on the Spotlight and MTN Eswatini social media platforms. And remember to download the Ayoba and Music Time apps on your mobile device to complete your registration into the Spotlight Season 2. Visit yellowhub.co.sz/the spotlight/apply. The audition dates are as follows: Manzini, 26 September to the 1st of October. Shiselweni, the 3rd to the 8th of October. Hoho, 10th to the 15th of October. Lubombo, 17th to the 22nd of October. Shine bright like the star that you are on the Spotlight Season 2.
Welcome grade 3s and 4s. This is the second subject for the day and you are learning English language with teacher Sicelo Dlamini. My name is Lerato Mabilisa and also joining me in the studio is the sign language interpreter Nomcebo Dlamini. A very good afternoon, Mr. Sicelo.
Afternoon, Lerato. How are you?
I'm alright. How are you today?
I'm good.
Okay, so today's topic is reading comprehension.
Oh, yes.
What do you expect the viewer to have learned by the end of this lesson?
By the end of the lesson, I would expect that the viewers should be able to read a story and answer some questions based on the story.
Okay, without wasting any time, please begin your lesson.
Thank you so much, Lerato. Good day, dear Elena. This is Mr. Dlamini, your English language teacher for grade 3 and 4. Before we begin, dear Elena, may I remind you this. COVID-19 is still there. And this is a deadly disease, dear Elena. Please remember to wash your hands with running water or to sanitize if you do have the sanitizer. COVID-19 is a deadly disease. All right. In today's lesson, we are going to look into a reading comprehension passage. What comes to your mind when I speak of a reading comprehension passage? Today, we are not just going to be reading for fun, dear Elena. What we shall be doing today, you need to read and understand. Why? Because at the end, indeed, there will be some questions for you. So let us start with the things that you will need in today's lesson. Here are the things that you will need in today's lesson. So you will need a pencil. If you are in grade 3, a pen. If you are in grade 4, and an exercise book for both classes. All right. Do you still remember what you learned about in lesson 2 previously? Oh yes, I think you do remember. We talked about some adjectives. What did we say an adjective is? Oh yes, we said an adjective is a word that describes a noun, which means an adjective tells us more about a noun. Can you give me any 3 adjectives that you remember? Yes, we've got the adjective beautiful, tall, thick. All those are adjectives. You may have more adjectives. These are just 3 that I've just thought about. So can you make a sentence using one of these adjectives? Oh yes, you can. Let us take the adjective beautiful. You can say, my sister is beautiful. So the word beautiful is giving us more information about your sister. Okay, dear Elena, let us continue. Let us look into today's objectives. So today, in today's lesson, you should be able to read some new words, define some new words, read and understand a story, and then you should be able, dear Elena, to answer some questions based on the story. Based on the story there. you should be able to answer some questions based on the story. Alright, here are the new words. Remember, these new words are the words that you will definitely find in the story. So it's wise for us to have a look into them before we continue reading the story. So what is it that is going to happen now, dear learner? First, I'll be the one reading, and then when we read for the second time, I want you, dear learner, to join me there. So the first word is friend, glow, here, mouse, slept, bell, downstairs, necklace, mice, and pant. That's good. So now, dear learner, I want you to read with me. So let us start now. We've got the word friend, glow, here, mouse, slept, bell, downstairs, necklace, mice, and band. That was excellent, dear learner. So now let us look at the meanings of these words. Let us look at the meanings of these words. Okay, we will start with the word friend. There is a picture there, dear learner. Can you see that picture there of those girls there? What are they doing? They are holding one another. If you look into their faces, they are very, very happy, which means friends do things together. But remember this, dear learner, because of COVID-19, you are not supposed to hug your friends. Keep that social distance. So what's the meaning of the word friend? A friend is a person you know well and like. So a friend is a person you know well and like. Okay, let us move on to our second word, which is glow. Let us look at that tiger there. Can you see the foot of that tiger there? Yes, you can see it. And then there are those sharp edges there. Can you see those sharp edges there? We call those things claws. So now what is a claw, dear learner? A claw is the sharp nails of an animal's foot. A claw is the sharp nails of an animal's foot. Let us continue, dear learner. Now we've got our next word, which is here. Let us look at that boy. Can you see what that boy is doing? He's putting his hand behind his ear there, which means he is trying to hear everything that is being said there. So what's the meaning of the word hear? To hear is to be aware of sounds with your ears. To hear is to be aware of sounds with your ears. Let us move on, dear learner, to the next word, which is necklace. Again, we've got that thing over there. We usually wear that thing around our necks. It is sometimes made out of gold and sometimes made out of diamond. What is a necklace then? A necklace is a kind of jewelry consisting of a chain. A necklace is a kind of jewelry consisting of a chain. Let us move on to the next word, which is slept. Look at that boy once again. Can you see that banana peel there? Probably that boy there have stepped on that banana peel, and what has happened? That boy is now falling. So, which means to slip, it is to slide a short distance accidentally. Slipped is to slide a short distance accidentally. So let us move on to the next word, dear learner, which is bell. Again, you still remember at school, dear learner. Do you still remember school time? There are two different types of bells. We have got the electric bell, which goes, you see that? Or it goes, that we call the electric bell. But again, there is that bell which is a hand bell. Sometimes the bigger boys will be holding it before break time to signal that now it's time for break time. They will be hitting it and then it will go gunde, gunde. So that one is the hand bell. So what is a bell? A bell is a hollow metal, often shaped like a cup. It often makes a ringing sound when it is hit by a metal inside it. So that is a bell. Let us move on to our next word, which is downstairs. Look at that house again. We've got that house there, and on top of it there is another house there. All right, what is downstairs? Downstairs, it is the house that is below the other house. When there are two houses, there is the other one, we call it the upstairs, and then the one which is below is downstairs. Let us now look at the definition of the word downstairs. Downstairs is a house or building lower than the one you are on. Downstairs is a house or a building lower than the one you are on. So let us move on to our next new word, which is mouse. We all know this animal, dear Lena. It has got a long tail, sharp ears, and then this animal is very, very clever, dear Lena. What does it do when you come across it in the house? Good, dear Lena. It runs away. So what is the definition of the word mouse? A mouse is a small animal that is covered with fur and it has a thin tail. Alright, let us move on to the next word, which is mice. When we have got more than one mouse, we say, now these are mice. We don't say mouses. No, in English we don't have mouses. Instead of mouses, we have mice. So mice is the plural of mouse. So let us move on to our last picture, which is a picture of a spoon, which is again it's our new word, bent there. So we've got a picture of a spoon there. That spoon there is bent. It is not straight. Something has happened to that spoon there. If you look at it there, it is totally bent. So when something is bent, it is not what? Straight. So now, dear Lena, before we start reading our story, here are some tips. I've got some tips here for you. Before reading the story, you need to do the following. Read the title and then do what? Predict what the story is about. Number 2, you need to study any pictures that are found in the story, dear Lena. So these are the 2 things that you need to note. Whenever you come across a story, number 1, read the title, predict what the story is about. Number 2, study any pictures found in the story that are found in the story. Alright, let us do this. Now, here is our story. What is the title of our story there? The title of our story is The Mouse Bells the Cat. The Mouse Bells the Cat. Good. What can you say about this title here? What can you predict? What can you say our story will be about? Our story will be about the mouse and the cat. What has the mouse done? The mouse has put a bell on the cat. Why? We don't know. We will find out as we continue reading our story. Point number 2, I gave you another hint. I said, if there are any pictures in the story, try to study them. Let us see if there are pictures. Yes, they are. We've got a picture of a mouse there and a picture of a cat. Let us start with the mouse there. What can you say about that mouse? It is wearing a what? A mask there. And then when we take a closer look into the eyes of the mouse and the ears, what can you say? Is that mouse happy or sad? That's very good, dear Lena. That mouse is very, very sad. Now let us come to the cat there. This is the cat. So, what can you say about the cat? Look at the eyes and the mouth there. What can you say about that cat? that cat is definitely happy. It is happy, yet on the other hand, the mouse is very, very sad. Now, let us continue scanning for other pictures in the story. Alright, again there, on the left hand side, you can see that those mice there are carrying something there. There are some food parcels that those mice are carrying, and they are walking into their hideout. Alright, now on the picture on the right, can you see that the cat is now standing in front of the cheese there? There is some cheese there. There's some cheese there, and the cat is standing in front of the cheese. What about the mouse there? The mouse is just looking on. It's looking on the cat there. So let us move on. Let us now look at that cat there. If you take a closer look into that cat, is that cat happy or sad? Yes, looking into the eyes and the mouth, that cat is very, very happy. Now we've got a picture of a mouse, and now the mouse is wearing a necklace. That is a necklace. Let us take note of that, dear Elena. The mouse there is wearing a necklace. Let us look at our next picture. In our next picture, you can see that it is now the cat that is now wearing the necklace there. Can you see that necklace? It is the cat that is now wearing the necklace. Okay, dear Elena, let us now read our story. Let us now read our story. The title is The Mouse Bells the Cat. So now I'm reading the story. And then you look on whilst I read. The house mice were all good friends, but they lived in fear of claws of the house cat. Many mice had damaged tails because of the claws of the cat. If only we could hear him coming, we would have time to run away, said Little Mouse. We once had a plan to put a bell around his neck, said Bent-Tail. That's a great idea, cried Little Mouse. Why didn't you do it? I bent my tail trying, said Bent-Tail. Just then, Knotted Tail ran in. That cat took my cheese, he cried. Suddenly, Little Mouse had an idea. She ran to her nest where she had hidden a bell. She slipped it onto a piece of ribbon. Then she put it on and she went downstairs. The cat heard the mouse coming. What's making that lovely noise? The cat asked. It's my wonderful new necklace, squawked Little Mouse. I want it, hissed the cat. Give it to me now. Take it, yelled Little Mouse as she took off the necklace and she ran away. The cat put on his new necklace. He looked at himself walking, and he also heard the lovely noise from it. From that day on, the mice could hear the cat coming, and the mice had all the time in the world to run away. Dear Lena, what can you say about the story that we have just read? Oh yes, this story was very, very interesting. Remember, dear Lena, we don't say a story is nice, but we say a story is interesting. What can you say now about the story? What is it about? It is about the cat and some mice. And towards the end, what has happened? What did the mice do to the cat? They were able to put a bell around his neck. So now here are some questions, dear Lena. Remember, I said Today we are not just reading for fun. We shall read a story, and thereafter you are expected to do what? To answer some questions based on the story. Let us move on to question number 1, dear Lena. Okay. Question number 1 says, what is the title of the story? What is the title of the story? The title of the story is Little Mouse Bells the Cat. Alright. Where did the mice live? They lived in the house. They lived in the house. What was feared by the mouse? Look at the word fear. What was feared by the mouse? They feared the clothes of the cat. They feared the clothes of the cat. So let us move on to number 4. Number 4 says, use one word to complete the following sentences. Alright. A. Many mice had damaged dash. What is the correct word there? Many mice had damaged tails. The correct word there is tails. Good. B. We once had a dash to put a bell around his neck. What is the correct word to put there? It is the word plan. We once had a plan to put a bell around his neck. Number 5. Which mouse suddenly, look at the word suddenly there. Which mouse suddenly had an idea? It is Little Mouse. Remember, it is Little Mouse who suddenly had an idea. So let us move on. Give 3 names of different mice found in the story. What are the 3 names of different mice found in the story? We have got Little Mouse. We have got Bent Tail. And lastly, we have got Knotted Tail. Number 7. Which mouse did a wonderful job? Which mouse did a wonderful job? Good. It is Little Mouse. It is Little Mouse. Then number 8 says, if you were Little Mouse, were you going to face the cat? Why? Remember, dear Lena, this question is in two phases. You need to answer this question first, and then the why at the end. If you're a Little Mouse, were you going to face the cat? Why? So some learners can say, no, I was not going to face the cat. But then there's that why. Because the cat might eat me. The cat might eat me. On the other hand, other learners may say, yes, I was going to face the cat. I was going to face the cat. Why? So that I can stop it from eating us. So this question is in 2 phases. You need to answer the first part before you answer the second part. You need to answer the first part before you answer the second part. So let us move on, dear Elena, to number 9. What action did Little Mouse do after taking off the necklace? She ran away. The correct answer there is she ran away. And then number 10, the cat took the necklace and put it on. Do you think that he was clever by doing so? Look at the word clever. We know people who are clever, they need to do the right things always. Okay, so do you think that he was clever by doing so? By taking the necklace and putting it on? No, the correct answer there is no. The cat was not clever. Why? Because now the mice were now able to hear him coming. Because the mice were now able to hear him coming. All right, dear Lena. Now that we have answered the questions, I hope you felt good about the answers. So let us now look at what we have done today. In today's lesson, we have read some new words, we have defined some new words, we read a story, and then we have answered some questions based on the story. We have answered some questions based on the story. I think that's all from me, dear Lena. Remember to wash your hands with running water or to sanitize if you do have the sanitizer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sicelo. This was a very amazing lesson. Let's hope you're going to come again next time.
Surely I will, Lerato.
Okay. Grade 5 and 6s, come closer to your screens, or rather get closer to your screens, because your religious education teacher, Winnie Dlamini, will be back after this infomercial.
Buhle bethu imvelo yethu, buhle bethu tindzawo tethu, indalo yashada nemasiko kuhle kwethu, kuvakasha kwethula umthwalo emahlombe ethu, hloma ngwane vuka uvakashe, indlela uyikhombe etindzaweni tethu, temvelo nembukiso ungcebeleke uthathe netithombe. Lalela ke nangu sonkondlo waseswatini akutekela, ayibeka indzaba ayihlela, kuhle kwelijaha lishela ngiyakutshela, diningi tindzawo longativakashela, hloma ngwane vuka uvakashe la, phana lapha kuvakasha kuyayelapha enhlitiyo kanye nemicondvo kuyawuphumuta, kugcinisa buhlobo nebungane losebundenga ndenga, with a trip to Mantenga Falls or a sip among friends of Sibebe Brew on Sibebe Mountain, or perhaps your cup of tea is backpacking and horse riding, sightseeing the seamless streams and springs that stream across the gorgeous valleys of the mountainous kingdoms of Eswatini. We have you covered. Hloma ngwane vuka uvakashe, buhle bethu yimvelo yethu, buhle bethu ngabuthola nasebantwini bethu.
Welcome back, grade 5s and 6s. This is the third subject for today, and you are learning religious education with teacher Winnie Dlamini. My name is Lirato Mabilisa, and also joining me in the studio is the sign language interpreter Nompumelelo Hatebe. Please do not forget that we are live on YouTube and on Facebook, and do not forget to click the subscribe button as well so that you catch us whenever we are live. A very good afternoon, Miss Winnie.
Afternoon, Lerato. How are you?
I'm alright. How are you today?
I'm good, sis.
Okay. So today's topic is creation of the universe.
Yes, it's about creation.
Okay. What do you expect the viewer to have learned by the end of the lesson?
By the end of the lesson, the learners should be able to describe the state of the universe before creation, explain how the universe was created, and state what was created in each day of creation, and give possible reason why the universe was created. Okay, good afternoon, dear learners at home. As Lerato have said, today your teacher is Winnie Dlamini. As I've said, the lesson objectives, you are expected to describe the state of the universe before creation. You describe the state of the universe before creation. You explain how the universe was created. Objective number 3, you have to state what was created in each day of creation. Number 4, as a learner, you should be able to give possible reasons why the universe was created. Okay, dear learner, this lesson is meant to help you as a learner to interpret your intermediate environment in relation to its origination from God. Okay, let us move on, dear learner. I've got keywords here which we are going to use while we are learning. The first word is create. What is to create? To create is to cause something new to exist. The next one is creation. Creation is the action. Now it is the action of bringing something into existence, especially when this thing is done by God. The third word is universe. The universe is the sky, the moon, the stars, the earth, and other planets. Okay, the next one is firmament. The firmament is what? It's the heavens or the sky. The next word is void. Void means completely empty. Okay, dear learner, you will know that previously we learned about man's authority over nature. Man's authority over nature. What is nature? Nature is everything created by God. Examples of natural things are plants, animals, or mountains. So today we are going to learn about how the universe was created from a biblical perspective. Okay, dear learner, I've got examples of natural things which we say is nature. There is light, there are animals here, there is water, plants. Okay, dear learner, let us look at the state of the universe. How was the state of the universe before creation? Our objective number 1 was saying we are going to describe the state of the universe before creation. Genesis 1 verse 2 states that before creation, the universe was without form. It was void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. That is Genesis 1. That was before God creates anything. The universe was without form, it was void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Okay, let us move on, dear learner. Explain how the universe was created. When we look at Genesis 1 verse 3, it says, and God said, let there. Genesis 1 verse 6 also said, and God said, let there. Also Genesis 1 verse 9 says, and God said, let them. When somebody is saying, it is similar that that person is speaking. So God created the universe through speaking. God created the universe through speaking. That is how the universe was created. Okay, dear Lena, can you take out your exercise book, even though I've forgotten to tell you to bring them? As a learner, I think you have brought them. Your exercise book, your ruler, to draw at a table. The table will, in this table, we are going to fill the order of creation and what God created on each day. The table should be similar to mine. Look at my table here. On the other side, you are going to write days, which will be day 1 up to day 6. And on the other side, you are going to write what was created. Okay, dear Lena, I think you have finished drawing my table. After you have drawn the table, you have to also listen carefully. I will read what God created on each day. While I read, you are going to pick a phrase or a word that tells us what God created on each day of creation. Okay, dear Lena, let's move on. Now that is the order of creation. Genesis 1 verse 3. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. And God saw that the light was good. That is day 1. I think you are writing, dear Lena. Genesis 1 verse 6. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. Let there be a firmament. And God called the firmament heaven. That is day 2. Genesis 1 verse 9. And God said, let the waters under the heaven gather together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And the dry land was what? Earth. The waters, which is the sea, and vegetation. That is day 3. Genesis 1 verse 14 says, and God said, let the lights in the firmament of the heavens. Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens. What are those lights? Those are the moon, the stars, the sun. That is day 4. Genesis 1 verse 20. And God said, let the waters bring forth swarm of creatures. What are the creatures that are found in water? That is the fish. And let birds fly above the earth across the firmament. What did God create here? It's fish and birds. Genesis 1 verse 24. And God said, let the earth bring forth living creatures according to their kinds, cattle and creeping things, which are land animals. Also Genesis 1 verse 26 says God, and God said, let us make man in our image. That is day 6. I think you have completed your table, dear Lena. Now let us look at our table or at our answers now. We are going to fill the table together, and you are going to use a pencil to mark for yourselves. Okay? This is my table. Let us look at day 1. What God created on day 1. It is what? Light. And then God named the light day, and the darkness, he said it was night. Day number 2, it was what? the firmament, which is the same as what? The sky and the heavens. Day 3, God created what? Dry land or dry ground, sea and vegetation. Day 4, it's the lights in the firmament. What are those lights? Sun, moon, and stars. Day 5, God created sea animals, which is fish and also birds. And day 6, God created land animals and human beings. Okay, dear Lena. Now let us look how God felt after every creation. After God had created the universe, he was pleased, was happy. Why do we say so? After every creation, he would say, it is good. It is good. It shows that he was pleased. We know that God created the universe in 6 days. And on the 7th day, God rested. Okay, dear Lena. Let us look at our picture here. It's an example of God's creation. We can see that this picture is clear because there is light, there are animals, there is water, there are plants, there is also the sky. It is a beautiful picture, dear Lena. It's an example of God's creation. Okay, dear Lena, let us look at why the universe was created. Why did God create the universe? First of all, we can say that God created the universe so that it can bring order and peace. To bring order and peace. There was darkness. Then God said, let there be light. He put everything in order. And when there is light, there will be peace. God created light so that we can see our beautiful surroundings. Dear Lena, let's go back and look at our picture. We wouldn't admire that picture if there was no light. The light made us to see how beautiful the environment. Let us look the third point. God wanted to demonstrate his power to create. That is why he created the universe. Okay, dear Lena, let us look at God's character in this lesson. The first one we can say God is self-existing. We can say that God is without origin. Why do we say so? He was there before everything. Even though the universe was without form, but God was there. It meant that God is self-existing. The second point, God is all-powerful. Why do we say so? He divided the day and the night. The third one, we can also say God is all-knowing. God knew that in order for a man to have authority over creation, he must create him in his own image. It shows us that God is all-knowing. Okay, dear Lena, let us look at our assessment for today. You can quickly write the questions as you see them. The first one, who created the universe? Who created the universe? That is 1 mark. Number 2, describe the state of the universe before creation. That is 3 marks. Number 3, explain how God created the universe. That is 2 marks. Number 4, do you think God was justified to create man on the last day of creation? The last one is an evaluation question, dear Lena. You have to bring 2 ideas, your idea and someone else's idea. Okay, dear Lena, the answers to our questions. Question 1 said, who created the universe? The answer, God created the universe. God created the universe. Question number 2, describe the state of the universe. Describe the state of the universe before creation. Describe the state of the universe before creation. Okay, dear Lena, the universe was without form. It was void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Question number 3, dear Lena, explain how God created the universe. How God created the universe. God created the universe through speaking. He said, let there be light. And there was light. It shows us that God created the universe through speaking. Question number 4. Do you think God was justified to create man on the last day of creation? Do you think God was justified to create man on the last day of creation? Okay, dear Lena. One could say yes, God was justified to create man on last day of creation. Why? Because he wanted to take his time in creating him. Or we can say he wanted man to be unique. Okay, and another person can say no, God was not justified to create man on the last day. Why? Because man had to be involved in decision making. Because he wanted man to take care of everything. Okay, dear Lena. Now, we've come to the end of our lesson. And in this lesson, we've learned about the state of the universe before creation and how the universe was created. Also, we've looked on the order of creation, on how the things were created, the order of creation. The last one was why the universe was created. That is the end of our today's lesson, dear Lena et al.
Thank you very much, Miss Winnie. It was a very informative lesson. I'm hoping you're going to come again next time and give us another amazing lesson.
Thank you, Lerato.
Okay.
I hope so.
If you are doing Form 1, Form 2, or Form 4, get closer to your screen because Nogwazi will be back with the religious education, Siswati, and religious education teacher after this infomercial.
Your favorite music show is back. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send in your shout-outs. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Better health, better life. It's another season on your favorite program, Better Health, Better Life, here on Eswatini TV.
Ayinibingelele kunemukele babukele emakhaya kulo hlelo i-Better Health, Better Life. Lona thulula hlelo ngunokuphila masangana.
It's all about our health, our better health today, and our better life tomorrow. In the midst of this global pandemic coronavirus, Better Health, Better Life brings you closer to your health professionals.
Ifake emlonyeni wakhe. Nangabe nje ngidla into legcwele amafutha, lento ngidla.
So siyakhuthaza ukuthi lala abahlala nalala banashukela abafunde nabo ngaloshukela.
Watch out for another fresh season of Better Health, Better Life on Eswatini TV. It's getting bigger and better every season. This season with COVID-19 is a must to watch for everyone in every home. Better Health, Better Life, your gateway to a healthy living.
This is Focus on Africa from BBC World News. Stories of Africa.
I would like some clinics, more schools, more jobs.
The latest regional developments. Polls have closed in Kenya's presidential election. And up-to-the-minute business, art and sport reports.
Now, we start with the African Champions League.
News from around the continent seen through African eyes. Focus on Africa from BBC News.
A very warm welcome back to our viewers and a very good afternoon if you have just joined us. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini and right now we are doing Form 1 and Form 2 Religious Education with Nomsa Nsibande. Also joining me in the studio is our sign language interpreter Nompumelelo Hadebe. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm great, Nogwazi, thank you. Yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you very much. I remember the last time on your last lesson actually you had asked our Form 1s and our Form 2s a question, an assessment, and you had promised them a gift.
Yes, I did.
Yes, can we speak a little bit about that?
Okay, yes, I keep my promises. So I did come with this beautiful Bible for the lucky learner. Yes,
Okay.
but let's talk about that at the end of the lesson.
Okay, all right. Okay, just to ask about today's lesson then, what are the Form 1s and the Form 2s learning about today?
Okay, my dear Form 1s and 2s, we are learning about the fall of man.
Okay, what are you
Yes.
expecting them to have learned by the end of the lesson?
We are going to look at how sin came about.
Okay.
So mainly that's the main objective, the
All right.
rationale. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Form 1s and Form 2s, I hope that you are ready for your lesson. And a reminder that we are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number. Nomsa, you may please begin with your lesson.
Thank you, Nogwazi. Okay, my dear Form 1s and 2s. So let us start our lesson. Today's lesson is on the fall of man, dear Elena. As you can see on the screen, I'm sure you are getting some hints on what we are going to be learning about. So let us start with the objectives for today's lessons. So by the end of the lesson, dear Lena, you must relate how sin came about. You must also outline how God punished the serpent, Eve, and Adam. Number 3, you must describe the type of sins. Number 4, you must explain the consequences of sin in one's life. Number 5, you must analyze the following characters: God, Adam, Eve, and the serpent. Finally, dear Lena, we will explain the lessons learned from the fall of man. Let us start with a quick recap of our previous lesson, dear Lena. What did we learn from our previous lesson? From our previous lesson, we learned that God created the universe in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. What are some of the things that you remember as mentioning as God's creation? We said God created the plants, of course. God created the sun. God created animals, and also God created the first humans. Who were those first humans that God created, dear Lena? Of course, it was, as we can see on our board, it was Adam and Eve. Those were the first humans that God created. And then we also said that he placed them in the Garden of Eden. And also, dear Lena, we learned that God gave them dominion over the animals. Yes, what does that mean? He gave them power to do what? To be able to rule over the animals, dear Lena. They had authority over the animals. That is what we learned in our previous lesson. And also, dear Lena, we learned that in Genesis 2, verse 16. In the previous lesson, we learned that God gave them a command. In fact, he gave Adam a command. What was that command? Let us read it in our Bibles quickly, dear Lena. God said, you may freely eat from every tree of the garden, but the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat. For in the day you eat of it, you shall die. So that was God's command directly to Adam, dear Lena. Now let us look at our pictures, dear Lena. We can see the Garden of Eden here, the perfection, dear Lena. I'm sure you also wish to have lived in this beautiful Garden of Eden, dear Lena. In the second picture here, we can see how Adam and Eve, we can see this, of course, dear Lena, that is our Eve. And we can see here our Adam. Can see how they enjoyed such a close relationship with God. If you can note, dear Lena, you can also note that they are both naked. What does that indicate, my dear Lena? It indicates a state of purity, a state of innocence. You can see that they enjoy communing with God. What a privilege these two had, dear Lena. Now, dear Lena, let us move on to our next objective, which is now to relate how sin came about. We are going to talk about how sin came into this world. That picture, of course, gives you the hint, dear Lena. So now let us turn to our Bibles to Genesis 3, chapter 3. We will be reading the whole chapter, but my story here is in point form, dear Lena. So open your RSV and let us read the story together. So it begins with that the serpent was more cunning than all the other animals that God had created. That, dear Lena, you have to note. And what did this serpent do out of its cunning nature? It being a sly. So remember, dear Lena, that the serpent is actually the devil who was disguised as a serpent. So it tricked Eve to eat the forbidden tree. So if you go to the Bible and read with me, what did this lie say? Remember, it found Eve all by herself in the garden. So it started talking to her. It started by asking her whether God had said that they must not eat from the garden. And yes, of course, Eve told the serpent that God indeed had said they must never eat nor touch the fruit, the forbidden fruit. For the day in which they touch it, they will surely die. So in other words, retelling what Adam had said in chapter 2, verse 16. Yes, dear Lena. So you find that after that, the serpent, if you continue to read, the serpent says, you will not die, but in fact your eyes will be opened and you will be like God. You shall be like God, as you can see here, knowing good and evil, dear Lena. So of course, after that, the woman started looking at the fruit. How did the fruit look like, dear Lena? The fruit suddenly looked as good for food. And if you continue to read it, say also a delight to the eyes. So suddenly you can see how impulsive she is. Suddenly she decided to take the fruit and she ate it. Imagine, that is the forbidden fruit, and now Eve is quick to eat from it. And then she further shared some with her own husband. You can see she took it to Adam and shared some. And suddenly after eating it, their eyes were opened and they saw that they were naked. What did they do about their nakedness? They saw fig trees to cover themselves. And as you can see, dear Lena, from this slide, you can see them now wearing their fig leaves there, trying to cover their nakedness. And also, you see that when they heard the voice of God or the sound of God coming into the garden later that day, they decided to hide themselves. You can see them hiding there, dear Lena. They were unaware of the fact that God's presence is found everywhere. In the previous lesson, we learned that God is, what did we say, dear Lena? What word did we use? Of course, we said God is omnipresent. God is omnipresent. Also, God is also omniscient, which means that God is all-knowing, and also his presence is found everywhere. Let's continue with the story, dear Lena. And then God called Adam and asked him about their sin. Adam got a chance there. He could have told God or admitted his wrongs, but what did he do? He shifted the blame. Whom did he blame? He started by blaming God himself for the woman whom he had given to him. And also he further blamed his own wife. Yes. And then Eve, when Eve was asked about her wrongs, what did Eve do? We learned that Eve blamed the serpent. So you can see them shifting blame instead of being responsible enough for their actions, dear Lena. So what did God do about that? God punished them, all three of them, for their sins. God punished Adam, Eve, and also the serpent was not spared. And also we will be looking shortly at the punishments in the next slide. But let's talk about this sin. What is this sin called? This sin is a sin of disobedience to God, because they had disobeyed God. So this sin is often called the original sin, dear Lena. It is called the original sin. So this is a sin of disobedience that was committed by the original people, the first people who lived here on this planet, and the first sin that was ever committed, dear Lena. And from that sin, unfortunately, was inherited by all of us, dear Lena. So let us continue, dear Lena. God, out of his loving nature, even though these two had sinned before him, he made leather garments and clothed them, dear Lena. So that has to show God's loving nature. And then what did he do about that? God is holy. He cannot dwell with people who are full of sin. So he expelled them from the garden and further placed his cherubims to guard. Now there is another tree, important tree called the tree of life that we learned about in the previous lesson. Because had they eaten from the tree of life, they would have attained immortality. They were never going to die. So God decided now to chase them out of the garden, my dear Lena. So now let us carry on with the punishments, dear Lena. Let's start with the serpent. God gave the punishment, the following punishment or cases to the following. With the serpent was cast above all animals. So we know that it crawls on its belly as a result of God's curse, dear Lena. And number two is that it's supposed to eat dust for the rest of its life. And also God caused enmity between the serpent and the woman and all her offsprings. That explains why you and me hate the serpent so much. When you see a snake, you want to hit it. I've never seen anyone staying with snakes or liking snakes that much that they keep them, dear Lena. It is how God created it, dear Lena. So now let's move on to the punishment or the curses of the woman. So the woman was cursed to suffer great pain in childbearing. I'm sure, my dear Lena, you have heard from your mother as well how painful it was when she gave birth to you, dear Lena. So also, the woman was given another case to desire her husband, to always desire her husband, but that woman will still be ruled by him. So the man was given the authority now to rule over the woman. That is why your father or your grandfather is the head of the family. That is how God designed it to be. Men are supposed to be leaders. Men are supposed to rule over us as women, dear learners. It is how God made it. And also the woman was given another punishment or the curse to be mortal and die someday, dear learner. Now let us move on to the curses of the men. Let's move on to the curses of the men. Yes, the man was given a curse that he will have to till the ground and sweat for food to support his family. So he has to do what? To sweat, to work hard, to till the land, to till the ground in order to support his family. So that is why men are supposed to be what? They're supposed to be breadwinners. And I'm sure, dear Lena, you are saying, how about my mother is also working? Hey, my father, both of my parents are working. Yes, women are working because they are supposed to be what? They are supposed to be helpers. God made Eve as a helper of the men. So your mother is helping your father by working. That therefore tells you, if you are a boy in this class, dear Lena, that you definitely have to work. You can have a wife who is a working class to simply help you, my dear Lena. So definitely you have to work. But if you know of a man who is not working, of course you have to find a way to tell him that yes, he has to go back to work, because that is how God designed it to be. Men are supposed to work for their families, dear Lena. So also you find that God also gave them, Adam, a punishment that he will become mortal someday and die and return to the ground from which he was made. So that explains the reason why we die. And when we die, what happens? We are buried in the ground. Don't ask me about cremation, dear Lena. Let us not get there for today. We'll talk about it another time. So now, dear Lena, let us move on to the next objective. Right now, we will be looking at the types of sins. But we cannot describe the types of sin without explaining what sin is, dear Lena. What do we, when we talk about sin, what comes into your mind, my dear Lena? Of course, my dear Lena, thank you. Sin, we can define sin as a disobedience against the will of God. That is correct, my dear Lena. So how can people sin, dear Lena? Of course, people can sin through their thoughts, through their actions, and through their words, my dear Lena, and also inactions. By not doing anything, sometimes you sin. We will come to that shortly. Can you name some of the sins that you know of, dear Lena? Of course, telling lies, cheating. Yes, cheating in class. Some of you copy when we are writing tests. Of course, that is cheating. What else? Insulting others. And even committing murder. Yes, dear Lena, all those are examples of sins, dear Lena. So looking at these examples of sin, dear Lena, some of you are probably thinking, oh, that's a smaller sin and that one is a bigger sin, dear Lena. I want you to know, my dear Lena, that all sins are equal in the eyes of God. There is no sin that is smaller and no sin that is bigger in the eyes of God. Whether you tell lies or gossip, and whether you commit murder, you are both sinners before God, dear Lena. So now, dear Lena, I want us now to look at the 4 types of sins. There are many types of sins, but for today's lesson, I would like for us to concentrate on these 4 types of sins, and we will explain them or define them and also give examples, my dear Lena. Let us go to our board together, my dear Lena. So the first type of sin here is venial sin, my dear Lena. So what is a venial sin, my dear Lena? Venial sin, these are minor sins committed unknowingly without full understanding of the consequences, such as a lie. Sometimes you tell lies about a person or tell just a lie, trying to get yourself probably out of a certain trouble. Sometimes you gossip, sometimes you just envy a certain kind of person, or you are filled with jealousy. So another type of sin, dear Lena, is called mortal sin, dear Lena. What is a mortal sin? So this is a wrongful act, what some people consider it as a serious sin that is even deadly to the soul, such as the examples are rape, murder, even committing adultery, dear Lena. Those are serious that people consider as very serious kind of sins, dear Lena. So now let us move on to other types of sins known as a sin of omission. This one is more interesting because some of you are not familiar with this one. So what are sins of omission? As we are going to look at the sins of omission, please turn to James 4 verse 17 for me. So these are actions that could have been done but have not been done. So by not doing something, dear Lena, you sometimes commit sin without doing anything. So what are the examples of these sins? But maybe let us start by reading the verse that I've asked you to turn to. Of course, dear Lena, please read the verse for me at home. What does it say? Anyone who knows the right thing to do but does not do it, for him that is a sin. You see it, Yelen? So that is what the verse say in our RSV. So that means that if you wake up in the morning and decide not to make up the bed, but your mother tells you every day to always make up the bed, what is that? That is a sin that you have committed. If you disrespect anyone, be it a young person or an old person, for you that is a sin. If you do not give to the poor, Jesus instructed us to do what? To be generous, to give to the poor. Give to anyone who asks for anything from you. Give and it will be given back to you. That is what we are supposed to do. But what you do? You are stingy. You don't even want to share your lunchbox with that poor student in your very class. So for you, if you do that, it is a sin, my dear Lena, by not doing the right thing that you know to be right, my dear Lena. So now let us move on to the final sin that we are looking at for today, the last sin. That is the original sin. We have already spoken about it, dear Lena. So this is a condition inherited by all people at birth, which stems from the disobedience of Adam. So the example is pretty obvious, dear Lena. So the example is the sin of disobedience that was committed by Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, my dear Lena. So now, dear Lena, let us together look at the consequences of sin. But before we look at the consequences of sin, I want you to think of a sin that you once committed, dear Lena, and how you felt after committing that particular sin. Let me give you a scenario, my dear Lena. You have stolen 50 emalangeni from your mother's purse before she goes off to work. In the morning, you are going to school. So what happens after that? While you're at school, you will probably use the money, but then afterwards you're going to feel guilty about it. What happens when your mother comes back? Even before your mother comes back, you will be at war with yourself, thinking, should I admit my wrong to my mother? Maybe she didn't notice. Maybe I should. Even when your mother comes back from work, you will not even go to welcome her like you normally do. You will try to hide from her because you know what? The sin that you had committed. So now let us look at the consequences of sin to one's life, dear Lena, with that scenario that we have just looked at. So sin, dear Lena, we can see that from our slide, sin can separate people from God. After committing sin, dear Lena, you may feel alone, disunited, and far away from God, my dear Lena. And we have seen that from the story that we are looking at, that we are basing today's lesson on. The story of Adam and Eve, how they had a good and open relationship with God. But after they sinned, dear Lena, they felt so afraid and ashamed to appear naked before God, my dear Lena. Yes. So now, dear Lena, let us move on to the second consequence of sin, dear Lena. So that is suffering, dear Lena. So as a consequence of sin, after committing sin, you may end up suffering, dear Lena. Let us look at two examples from Genesis and one in Luke. Let's start with the one about Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were created to live in pure bliss in the Garden of Eden, to enjoy a life of perfection, having it all. But then, after they committed the sin of disobedience to God, they were banished, chased out of the garden into the harsh world. As we can see, dear Lena, the angel here is banishing them out of the garden. Now they are going to face the realities of this world. They are being punished, dear learners. So now also they were even cursed now that they will do what? They will sweat in order to get food. They will not get food as easy as they did initially, because in the Garden of Eden they were just indulging in any kind of food that they wanted to. But now since they were unappreciative, they have to go and work in order to appreciate their food they get from their sweat, dear Lena. So also there is another example that I want us to look at, dear Lena, an example of the prodigal son. Do you know about the prodigal son, my dear Lena? Yes, that son who went to his father while his father was alive. And what did he do there? Of course, he took all his inheritance from his father and he went to squander it all, dear Lena. And what happened to that son, that lost son or prodigal son? He started suffering. He was feeling so alone by himself. Even those people who were with him while he had it all left him. And he went to even search for a job. What was one of the jobs that you'd remember him finding? Feeding the swines, dear Lena. So that is what happened, dear Lena. So you find that, as you can see in the in this slide, that he was eating with swines. That is the cause of suffering that was caused by sin, my dear Lena. So let's move on to other consequences of sin. Sin can cause guilt and shame, my dear Lena. So as we have seen with Adam and Eve, that they became aware of their nakedness. And then the guilt of or disobedience caused them to be ashamed, and then they hid themselves, dear Lena. And also we learn that sin can cause death, my dear Lena, as we can see in Genesis 3 and Romans, dear Lena. Adam and Eve were punished with mortality, something that was inherited by all generations. Also, we learn from Cain and Abel, who demonstrated sibling rivalry. That led to death, dear Lena. As you know that Cain decided to kill Abel out of being jealous of him. And also we learn from the verse that is found in Romans 6 that there is a hope for all people through salvation in Christ Jesus that will do what? Will mend the broken relationship caused by sin, my dear Lena. Yes, dear Lena. So now, dear Lena, let us look at the characterization of the following people. We look at God, Adam, Eve, and the serpent. So we'll just highlight, dear Lena. I would like for you to copy this down so that you can qualify it at home. Let's start with God, dear Lena. We can say that God is holy and pure. You know, after Adam and Eve committed sin in the garden, God could not stay with people who are sinners, but instead he banished them from the garden because he is a pure God who does not tolerate sinners, dear Lena. And also we learn that God is merciful and compassionate. How do we see this? He had given Adam and Eve a second chance after they disobeyed him. He did not immediately kill them, but instead he punished them and banished them from the garden, which shows his mercy and compassion, dear Lena. So do this one at home, how God is loving. We can say that Adam, dear Lena, Adam is easily deceived and naive, dear Lena. Why do we say that? God had given Adam an instruction in Genesis 2 verse 16 that they must not eat from that fruit, dear Lena. So, but when Eve brought the fruit to him, what did he do? He immediately took the fruit without asking so many questions, which shows that he is easily deceived and naive. We can also say he is irresponsible and cowardly. After committing the sin, dear Lena, he was supposed to admit his wrong to God when God started asking him about his wrongs. But what did he do? He shifted the blame, blaming God himself and blaming Eve who brought the fruit, my dear Lena. Please copy these ones, my dear Lena, and also do qualify them likewise at home for me. And also, dear Lena, with the characterization of Eve now, we learn that Eve is easily deceived and impulsive, my dear Lena. Why do we say that, my dear Lena? We say she is impulsive and easily deceived because when the serpent came to her, she decided to eat the fruit, knowing exactly what God had said, my dear Lena. So we can also say she's unappreciative and discontented. She could have eaten from any fruit in the garden, but she decided to go for the very fruit that God had instructed her not to eat from. Please do qualify the others for me at home, my dear Lena. With the serpent, let us just take one, dear Lena, probably the one that says she is defiant and rebellious. She is defiant and rebellious because remember, the serpent symbolizes the devil, my dear Lena. So it shows that the devil was envious of the relationship that God shared with Adam and Eve. So it decided to use its cunning nature to ruin that precious relationship, my dear Lena. So due to the interest of time, my dear Lena, let us end there for today, my dear Lena. Let us look at our assessment for the day. Please just take a picture of the assessment for me, my dear Lena, at home. So you will describe the sin of omission and explain any two consequences of sin. Study the punishment God gave to Adam and Eve in the Genesis tree and explain the nature of God as revealed in the story. Also, explain the words that say they were naked but not ashamed, my dear Lena. And finally, do the last part, evaluation part. Do you think it was fair for God to punish all humanity for Adam and Eve's sin, my dear Lena? So give reasons for your answer and show that you have thought about the different points of view. Thank you very much, my dear Lena. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Remember to keep safe at home. Always put on your mask and wash your hands as much as possible. We miss you. We can't wait to be reunited with you back at school, my dear Lena. Thank you, Nogwazi.
Thank you so much, Nomsa, for that. And at the beginning of the lesson, we did speak about you asking a question from your previous lesson.
Yes.
Yes, and you had picked a student who actually got the answer right.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you... can you say it or should I say it?
Yeah, please say it for me.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Fatima from St. Michael's, your number is 7645-7282. I'll repeat that. 7645-7282. You have a lovely gift waiting for you. You have a lovely gift. It's right in front of me, waiting for you. It's a Bible, you had said before.
Yes.
All right, Fatima, you have that to look forward to. Nomsa, thank you very much for your lesson and thank you for the gift, of course.
Yes.
All right, we'll see you soon.
Yes, I can't wait to be back.
All right, thank you so much. Form 4s, please get closer to your screens. Up next is your Siswati lesson with Ngobile Gwebu. We'll be right back after this.
Eswatini, your favorite show, is back. The Spotlight Season 2 returns with an exciting new twist. We are taking the kingdom's #1 music talent search digital. One lucky winner will drive away in a brand new Kia Picanto, get a recording deal, and walk away with fantastic prizes, including a trendy Huawei P40 Pro. This year, the application process has been made better, easier, and brighter. To apply, simply follow the application process on the Spotlight and MTN Eswatini social media platforms. And remember to download the Ayoba and Music Time apps on your mobile device to complete your registration into the Spotlight Season 2. Visit yellowhub.co.sz/the spotlight/apply. The audition dates are as follows. Manzini, 26th September to the 1st of October. Shiselweni, the 3rd to the 8th of October. Hoho, 10th to the 15th of October. Lubombo, 17th to the 22nd of October. Shine bright like the star that you are on the Spotlight Season 2.
Ngikuvusele mbukeli ngiphinze ngikwemukele ehlelweni lakho lolumnanzi i-home study lekufundza usekhaya. Losombi kwakho ngunokwazi wakadlamini. Kanti kulesikhathi samanje sitawufundza Siswati selibanga la ka form 4 kanye naye Ncobile Gwebu losavele anami etindlini tekusakata. Unjani namhla Ncobile?
Ngiyaphila sesinokwazi unjani wena?
Ngiyaphila kakhulu. Namhla ka Siswati sidabe sifundza ngani?
Namuhla ka Siswati sidabe sifundza ngetimphawu tekubhala kanye nekuhlatiya umbuto.
Okay, ubheke umfundzi wakho ukuthi abe afundzene kupheleni kwalesifundo.
Ekupheleni kwalesifundo ngibheke ukuthi umfundzi abe sekakwati ukutisebenzisa kahle timphawu tekubhala ngendlela lefanele, abe sekakhona nekuhlatiya umbuto kuze akhone ukubhala indzaba lemnanzi ekugcineni.
Okay, siyabonga kakhulu Ncobile. Sethembe ukuthi umfundzi ekhaya sovele sosilungisele isifundo sakhe. Ngicabanga ukuthi ungacala nesifundo.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu sisi.
Okay.
Angikuvusele mfundzi welibanga lelishumi ekhaya. Ngiyethemba bososigathe ngalabo isifundo sakho lesimnanzi namhla sesiswati lapho khona sitabe sibuka kanye timphawu lekumele sitisebenzise nasibhala indzaba. Sihloko sethu nje simayelana netimphawu tekubhala. Bese siba kanye nekuhlatiya umbuto ukuthi umbuto siuhlatiya kanjani kuze sikhone ukuthi siphendvule kahle sibhale indzaba lengiyomfundzi. Namhlanje lesifundo sanamhla sethu umfundzi sitawusita wena kucija likhono lakho ukhone kubhala indzaba lelandzelelekile noma lelandzelelekako uhlelembise kahle emaphuzu akho usathuthukisa yona indzaba yakho ngekuyibhala kahle nekuhlatiya kahle umbuto mfundzi wami. Ngiyethemba sokulungisile kwekubhala nekwekubhalela kuze ulungele isifundo sakho sisachubeka mfundzi ekhaya. Ngicela sisibuka kanye imigomo yesifundo sethu sanamuhla naku umfundzi lekubheke ukuthi ukhone kukwenda ekupheleni kwalesifundo. Kwekucala mfundzi ngidawucela ukuthi ukhone ukuthi unike tinhlobo tetimphawu tekubhala. Letimphawu tekubhala lesitabe sifundza ngato namuhla ufuna utati tinhlobo tato ukuthi sinaluphi naluphi luphawu. Lokho kumcoka esifundweni sethu sanamuhla kubhekekile ukuthi ube ukhona kukwati. Wesibili mfundzi wami kubhala usebenzisa timphawu tekubhala ukhone kubhala kahle utisebenzise ngendlela lefanele. Kwesithathu kuchaza ukuthi tiyini timphawu tekubhala. Kwesine kucondzisa noma kuhlatiya umbuto wekubhala indzaba. Linake mfundzi leligama lekuhlatiya umbuto wekubhala indzaba. Bese kwekugcina kuchaza tindlela tekubhala sihloko. Kubhekekile sekupheleni kwalesifundo unginakele letimfo lesikhulume ngato mfundzi wami utati noma ukhone kudenda ekupheleni kwalesifundo sethu sanamuhla. Asesingeneke mfundzi wami esifundweni sethu sanamuhla sitawucala sikhumbutane ngesifundo sethu lesengcile lapho khona besibuka indzaba yekuma kweliphepha lekucala. Ukuthi liphepha lekucala lima kanjani. Saveta ke mfundzi kwekuthi kusicephu A ubhala indzaba kani kusicephu B ubhala simondzaba. Ngiyethemba soyakhumbula mfundzi wami kwekuthi sathi kumcoka kakhulu kwekuthi ulati ukuthi lima kanjani leliphepha lethu. Kwesibili lesakubuka esifundweni lesengcile mfundzi safunza kwekuthi inhloso yekuthi wati ngekuma kweliphepha lekucala kwekuthi nase uniketiwe litfuba lekubhala yakho indzaba ibe nguleyo lehlamsako leshaya khona esihlokweni. Naka ke mfundzi wami kwekuthi kumcoka ukuthi na ubhala yakho indzaba utisebenzise kahle timphawu tekubhala uphindze ulandzele kahle netingoni tekubhala yona phela indzaba. Namuhla ke sidabe sigcile kakhulu mfundzi wami la kuletimphawu tekubhala lekumele utisebenzise usabhala yona indzaba yakho mfundzi ekhaya. Asesicale sibuke ke mfundzi kwekuthi tiyini tona letimphawu tekubhala. Leti kuba tibonakaliso letisetshenziswa noma kwelekelela kugcamisa umsebenzi wakho. Tibonakaliso letisetshenziswa kusita noma kwelekelela kugcamisa umsebenzi wakho lobhaliwe. Nasikhuluma ngetibonakaliso singasho ukuthi pheceleti ngema punctuation marks. Ngiyo ke timphawu tekubhala lesikhuluma ngato namuhla noma lesifundza ngato kwekuthi kumele utinake njalo uma ubhala indzaba yakho mfundzi. Letimphawu leti ke tiphindze tisite kuhlobisa umsebenzi wakho mfundzi ube ngulowo lohlelekile ufundzeke kalula kumcoka kwekuthi nangu lotabe afunza indzaba yakho akhona kuyifunza ayilandzelele loko utawusitwa yini utawusitwa ukuthi wena mfundzi ukhonile ukuthi sebentisa kahle timphawu tekubhala lokunye mfundzi wami mayelana netimphawu tekubhala tiphindze ticacise tiyacacisa ukuthi ukuphi nekubhala ngabe usekucaleni noma usekugcineni kwemusho noma ke leyo ndzaba yakho tiyakucacisa ke naloko timphawu tekubhala ngiyethemba sahamba kanye esifundweni sethu uyanaka lokho ukuthi vele timcoka timphawu tekubhala mfundzi ekhaya sinetinhlobo ke letikhona mfundzi tetimphawu tekubhala lengibheke ukuthi nawe utati wendlule lapho utisebentise kahle manje ke sinaletimbalwa lezintona sitawutibuka namuhla letivame kusebenta kakhulu nakubhalwa indzaba asesicale sibuke naloluhlobo lwekucala mfundzi lokungufeleba feleba sithi pheceleti masikhuluma ngafeleba sisuke sikhuluma ngecapital letter ngelulwimi lwethu lweSiswati sithi ngufeleba kukunini ke lapho khona simsebenzisa feleba njalo uma ucala umusho mfundzi kufanele ubhale ngeluhlavu lolukhulu njalo uma ucala umusho kufanele ubhale ngeluhlavu lolukhulu lelesithi ngufeleba sengishito mfundzi wami kwekuthi yi-capital letter sonke isikhathi caphela kwekuthi na uqala ubhala umusho wakho ubhale ngayo i-capital letter noma ke feleba nasikhuluma ngemusho ngiyakubona uyadibuta ekhaya kwekuthi yini wona lo musho lakhuluma ngawo thishela umusho nesikhuluma ngemusho mfundzi sisuke sikhuluma ngemagama lahlanganisiwe kepha akha umcondvo lophelele lokumcoka ngalamagama lawa kuthi akakhe umcondvo lophelele kunangu lotabe afunza indzaba yakho asesibukena tibonelo kanye mfundzi wami nginetibonelo letimbili lengifuna sitibuke sekucala sibonelo sami nasi mfundzi asisifunze kanye ibhola endlini itolo sipho ibhola endlini itolo sipho sipho wesibili umusho asiufunze mfundzi sipho ukhahlele ibhola itolo yangena endlini wabaleka ngiyethemba unakile sisafunza mfundzi wami kwekuthi kulomusho wethu ekucala siyawabona kona vele ngemagama ahlanganisiwe kepha akasiniketi umcondvo lophelele lona wesibili sipho ukhahlele ibhola itolo yangena endlini wabaleka wona mfundzi wami sekasiniketa umcondvo lophelele nakale ukuthi ekucaleni vele sicalise ngaye feleba na unganaka nje mfundzi wami sibiyele kancane ibhola uyabona ukuthi lo i simbhale waba ngufeleba nalo sipho lo s simbhale waba ngufeleba ngoke lesikhuluma ngakho ukuthi ekucaleni kwemusho kunake noma msebenzise kahle feleba sesichazile ke mfundzi wami ukuthi kule misho lemibili lena unakile kwekuthi uyavakala lona wesibili bofeleba lokumele ukunake lokunye mfundzi wami ukuthi sibasebenzise ekucaleni kwemusha noma uma sibhala emabito ngco asigcini ngekubasebenzisa ekucaleni kwemusho siphindze siwusebenzise feleba uma sibhala emabito ngco ngiyethemba utawukhumbula mfundzi kwekuthi yini kani vele emabito ngco nasikhuluma ngemabito ngco mfundzi wami ekhaya sisuke sikhuluma ngemabito ebantfu kungaba dibongo tabo kungaba ngemave magama emave kungaba sive noma tive kuthi lo muntu lona usive sini kungaba ngemagama etindzawo kungaba ngemalanga eliviki tinyanga teminyaka konke lokho mfundzi wami kungena ngaphasi kwalesibaya lesisibita ngokuthi ngemabito ngco kulapho ke lapho khona feleba siphinze simsebenzise khona mfundzi wami ekhaya. Ngiyethemba uyanaka sachubeka sahamba kanye kanye. Asesibone ke ukuthi emabitweni ebantfu kanye netibongo tabo senda njani nasisebenzisa lo feleba. Nali nje libito mfundzi wami lana lelithi tholakele. Ngiyethemba uyanaka ukuthi sicalise ngathi lokusho ukuthi ngufeleba la sicalise ngaye la kuleli bito lelithi tholakele. Siphinze sibe namagagula ngiyathemba uyawubona lo msimvo lothi kwekuthi sicalise ngafeleba nakhona sibe neligama lelithi nosizo nakhona sacalisa ngafeleba. Saba nesibongo lesithi ngwenya sacalisa ngafeleba. Saba neligama nesibongo semuntu longusilomo wakahleta. Ngiyethemba mfundzi uyanaka ukuthi nasibhala nje kucaleni sicalisa ngaye lo feleba emabitweni ebantfu nasetibongweni tabo. Sindlule ke mfundzi wami sibuke ke manje emave netive. Wena nje mfundzi lapho ekhaya uliswati. Lo munye uhlala kaZulu, kungabe sihlobo sakho, kungabe ngumngani wakho. Lo munye mhlambe unaye umngani wakho lo mfolile mhlambe lapha kubo phecelezi kubo social media uhlala eTaliyane. Sibe naye lesimbita ngokuthi lona ke ulixhosa. Ngicela unake ke mfundzi wami ukuthi lana ke senda njani nasibhala lo feleba. Lo feleba asicali ngaye la ekucaleni sicala simsebenzisa njengala ukuthi khona liswati utawunaka ukuthi los noma lo s nguye lesimenda abe ngifeleba. Nasithi uhlala kaZulu lo z nguye lona lokumele umbhale ngafeleba. Nasithi lo munye umngani wami uhlala eTaliyane lothi nguye lokumele ukuthi umbhale abe ngifeleba. Nangithi umfati wamalume ulixhosa lesimqalisa ngafeleba ngulo x lesithi phecelezi ngu x nguye ke lo lesimsebenzisa noma sibhale abe ngufeleba yena. Lokunye ke mfundzi wami ngishito ngathi emabitongco ayafaka ekhathi emagama etindzawo njenganayi lohlala kuyo nje. Ngiyakubona nje wena lohlala kaHlathi khulu. Njalo na ubhala eHlathi khulu noma kaHlathi ubhala uqalise ngafeleba kuleli gama lecala. Kukhona nangulohlala ekukhanyeni, kukhona nangulohlala enkomazi, kukhona lohlala emankayane. Ngiyambona lomunye usesifundzeni sakahoho, lomunye usesifundzeni sakamanzini. Onke lawo magama etindzawo mfundzi wami ekhaya ngicela ukuthi ubonaka ukuthi njalo na uwasebenzisa kungaba kusemshweni wakho, kungaba nje ubhala indzaba, wanake lokuthi uwabhale ngeluhlavu lolukhulu noma usebenzise feleba. Asesibukeke ukuthi emalangeni eliviki noma ke tinyanga eminyakeni khona senda njani. Asichubeke mfundzi wami sibuke kanye kanye siyabona ukuthi sinalesihlanu. Lapha ekucaleni uyambona feleba lapho uloqalisa ngaye. Nasithi umgcibelo ngilom lokumele ukuthi umbhale abe ngifeleba. Sibe nenyanga eminyakeni lesinayo lokungibhimbidvane nangu lo feleba lasimsebenzise khona lapha kulo msimvo lothi bu. Kulapho ke la uqala khona usebenzise lo feleba. Siphinze sibe nalenye inyanga lengikholwane, sibe nayo lenye inyanga lelwedi. Ngiyethemba sahamba kanye kanye mfundzi wami sibukile ukuthi feleba simsebenzisa masibhala noma ucicalisa umusho noma emabitweni ngco. Nawe wena lobo ungawade emabitongco soyakhumbula ukuthi emabitongco ngumabito la kanjani. Ngufeleba ke lesesikhulume ngaye mfundzi wami. Ngiyacela ukuthi sichubeke sibuke nalolunye liphawu nalolu umcoka nasibhala lesilubita ngokuthi ke lona ngungci. Lesithi ke pheceledi ngu full stop nasimbita ngalo lwimi lolwesilumbi. Longci nawo siyamsebenzisa nasibhala ukhomba ukuthi umusho sewugcinile. simsebenzisa kukhomba ukuthi umusho sowugcinile. Kunana umusho wami nje mfundzi ngicela siufunze kanye kanye lo sembi kwakho lothi babe usithengele tincwadzi tonke tesikolwa ngiyethemba uyamnaka nangu uyangcila lapha egcineni lokhombisa ukuthi lo musho sewugcinile. Kumcoka mfundzi wami ukuthi noma ngabe amncane kangaka abukeka atselelekile loyo ngci kumcoka ukuthi umbhale njalo na ukhombisa ukuthi umusho wakho sewufike egcineni. Kunalolunye liphawu lengicela silubuke mfundzi lona ke silibita ngokuthi ngukhefane. Ngesithi pheceleti yikhoma labanye bakubita ngokuthi likhefu. Ngiyethemba uyanaka nje mfundzi ukuthi siyesisho ukuthi sesithatha likhefu noma hamba uthatha likhefu. Nalana ke masibhala khefane noma sisebenzisa khefane simsebenzisa nangabe sibhale umusho lomutse siyalifaka leli khefu lethu noma ke lo khefane sisebenzisela ukuthi sikhombe kuphumula siphindze sisebenzise lapho sibala tindvo ngekulandzelana kwato sikhomba kuphumula ngukhefane sithatha likhefu lana ubhayana ngabe lo musho umutse ngilapho ke ufike khona ulisebenzise likhefu mfundzi wami. Sibonelo lesikhona ke mfundzi wami lengicela sisibuke sithi itolo kumabona kudze kufundziswe sifundvo sesiswati sesingisi sesiswati singisi setibalo kanye nesetenkholo. Itolo kumabona kudze kufundziswe sifundvo sesiswati ngiyethemba uyalibona mfundzi nali likhefu lapha siyabala phindze nesingisi sifundzisiwe setibalo kanye nesetenkholo mutse lo musho silifakile likhefu ngoba bese sikhombisa kuphumula ukuthi akukafundwa siswati kuphela nesingisi naso sifundziwe nesifumbo setibalo naso sifundziwe kwase kugcina setenkholo kulapho ke sikhona ukuthi silisebenzise likhefu mfundzi wami. Ungaphindze ulisebenzise likhefu nawetfula inkhulumo lengakaconzi lele siyibita ngokuthi pheceleti indirect speech. Asesibukele sibonelo ke mfundzi wami lesithi wakhuluma wathi nalo likhefu mfundzi cela ulinake ukuthi lisebente nini. Wakhuluma wathi bukelani tifumvo temsakato wetitfombe la emagama lokuthi nje wakhuluma wathi ngilapho ke nitafike ufake noma ubhale likhefu lakho mfundzi kukhomba ukuthi lo lokutawulandzela sengemagama lashidiwe ngilo muntu njengoba anjalo. Ngiyethemba mfundzi wami likhefu nalo yalinaka ukuthi lisebenta kanjani. Asesibuke ke mfundzi wami luphawu lulandzelako lekuthiwa ngumbuti. Umbuti wona ke siubita ngokuthi yi-question mark nasiubita ngelulwimi lwesilumbi. Lolu phawu lolu ke mfundzi kufanele sigcine ngalo nangabe sikhombisa umusho longumbuto. Njalo nje nasibhala umusho longumbuto sisebenzisa ini? Sisebenzisa lolu phawu lesilibita ngekuthi ngumbuti. Sibonelo lesithi lecela sisifunze lesithi kukuphi emsakatweni wetitfombe. Ngiyethemba mfundzi uyambona ukuthi lo muntu uyabuta kukuphi emsakatweni wetitfombe. Lo musho lona sesisebenzisile lo luphawu lesithi ngumbuti. Ngiyethemba uyalinaka ukuthi lisekugcineni likhomba ukuthi kukuphi emsakatweni wetitfombe. Lusebente kahle ngoba lo musho uyabuta. Kunalolunye liphawu lengifuna silibuke mfundzi lokuthiwa ke lona bokhulunyiwe lelinye ligama lalo loluphawu lolu silibita ngokuthi bovula vala. Ngesingisi sibita ngokuthi ma inverted commas. Nemagama ke lakhulunywe ngulomunye ngaphandle kwalona lokhulumako nawo kumele siwakhombise ngabo bovula vala noma bokhulunyiwe phela mfundzi wami. Asesibuke lo musho wami nje lapho khona kusebende khona bokhulunyiwe. Sitobona kanye kanye sibukisane ukuthi ngilana la kufanele ngibabhale khona bokhulunyiwe. Sibonelo sami sithi mkhulu Tipoko ubude wathi sesiyabafaka ke bokhulunyiwe bethu bekucala kukhombisa ukuthi ngemagama ke manje amkhulu Tipoko lawo lata ulandzela ihamba nini ibhasi lebheka eSpeak mvanami ngoba uyabuda mkhulu Tipoko nalo luphawu lolukhomba ukuthi uyabuda nawe bese siyavala ngavala noma ngabokhulunyiwe bethu ekugcineni kuvalela emagama kuthi mkhulu ukhulume wagcina la nako ke mfundzi lokho ngicela ukuthi uchubeke ukunake kwekuthi kusebenta kanjani kunalolunye liphawu lengicela silibuke ke mfundzi lona lesilibita ukuthi ngumbabati pheceleti i-exclamation mark nalo kololiphawu mfundzi lolu ke lukhomba kumangala noma kwetfuka nangabe nje emagama lo wasebenzisile endzabeni yakho akhomba kwetfuka akhomba kumangala kulapho khona kutalisebenzisa lolu phawu lolu nasi nje sibonelo mfundzi lesithi yeheni bo uyambona ukuthi lo muntu uyethuka uyawucala nini ukuthi misela ngemsebenzi wesikolo ukhomba kuthuka nokumangala ungaphinde usebenzise lolu phawu nangabe usebenzisa amagama lekuthiwa difuta msindvo kanye netenda kuthi tibonelo tetenda kuthi singasho ukuthi ngeva ukuthi khwasha uyafaka lolu phawu noma ulubhale kukhombisa ukuthi lo senda kuthi lesi thula uthi dvu ngilalele siphinde swasebenzisa netifuta msindvo kunemagama lesabita usitifuta msindvo lathi phahla ngabutha ticucu kungabe lipulete lami ngiyakhombisa mfundzi ukuthi lathi phahla kufuta lo msindvo legama lelifute umsindvo lothite noma wekuwa kwaleli plate kulapho khona utawusebenzisa lolu phawu lesithi ngumbabati ngawa ngathi dzim bahleka baze bakhala nakhona lapho solo sisebenzisa umbabati mfundzi wami ekhaya ngiyethemba sisachubeka kanye ke mfundzi ngileto timphawu lebe nguphathele tona asesichubeke mfundzi wami sibuke indzaba yekuhlatiywa kwembuto kwekuthi umbuto wethu ke wona siuhlatiya kanjani ngiyethemba utawukhumbula mfundzi kwekuthi indzaba yethu inetingoni letine lekusihloko singeniso umtimba kanye nesiphetho kwanamuhla ke mfundzi wami sitawubuka nje yinye ingoni lekusihloko lesisithola emva kokube sesihlatiye ini umbuto asihambe kanye ke mfundzi wami sibuke ukuthi uhlatiwa njani umbuto wendzaba noma umbuto lokubheka ukuthi khona ubhale indzaba imvamisa yesikhathi ke sihloko usithathela embutweni sihloko mfundzi usibhala usithathele embutweni ngako kumcwayo ukuthi uhlatiye umbuto okucala ungakasibhali sihloko sakho ukuthi utokhona ukuthi ubhale imvo loyivile noma imvo loyatiko kuyavama ukuthi umbuto uvele ukunike nje sihloko siconze ngco kulesinye isikhathi kungadingeki ukuthi unciphise noma ungete emagama naka ke mfundzi ukuthi kuyasita ukuthi ungakasibhali uqale uhlatisise umbuto uhlatisise umbuto unake ligama ngalinye lelivele embutweni ukuthi lishone kuhlatiya umbuto ngilokunaka ligama ngalinye ukuthi lishone ulicabange ngemagama noma ngelulwimi lolwetayelekile mfundzi wami ekhaya asesichubeke ke sibuke nasi sibonelo sesihloko nasi lesi sisivele siconze ngco sendzaba kungaba mhlambe indzaba lecocako kunesihloko la embi kwami mfundzi lapho khona ungavele ukhanze nje umbuto uthi ngasinza ngekulambisa sisasibuka nje lesihloko mfundzi kumele uqale utibude ukuthi kushoni usinza ngelulwimi lolwetayelekile sesiyawuhlatiya kanye mfundzi wami naligama lecala ngasinza lesibili ngekulambisa ungakabhali mfundzi wami indzaba yakho qale unake ukuthi kushoni kusinza kushoni kulambisa ngelulwimi lolwetayelekile sisiyabona ukuthi kusinza kungasho kuphunyula kusinza kungasho ukuthi ngiphunyulile. Ngekulambisa noma kulambisa singasho ukuthi kungaba ukuthi uphunyule ngani ngenhlanhla. So yakhona ukubhala indzaba ngoba sowayawaconza lamagama ukuthi usho kuphunyula ngenhlanhla lolu lwimi lolwetayelekile so ukhonile ukuthi ligama ngalinye ulihlatiye ukuthi lishone. Kulapho ke songakhona ukubhala indzaba yakho uchubeke mfundzi ekhaya. Lomunye umbuto mfundzi ungavele ubhalwe ukuthi bhala indzaba uchaze ngekugwetshwa kwesigelekece sangakini. Nakhona mfundzi siyawanaka lamagama lesiwabita ukuthi pheceleti ngema key words. Nali nje ligama lakhona lapha kugwetshwa kwesigelekece nawe magama langathi atiyile lekudinga ukuthi siwanake ukuthi asho ukuthini. Nakulona umbuto mfundzi uyadvebela unake magama lamcokwa uyadvebela unake magama lamcoka njengekugwetshwa kanye nalesigelekece. Usatibuta ukuthi ashoni lamagama kutovela emcondweni ukuthi kugwetshwa kuphathelene nebucala bese sigelekece kusho umuntu losangenele incumbi yebantu noma ke ngumgulukuthu lobe solo ungabanjwa wagcine ubanjiwe so yagwetshwa ke. Nakhona lapha mfundisi uyabona ukuthi hayi kulula ukuthi sengakhona ukubhala indzaba yami ngoba emagama sengiwatfolile ngelwimi lolwetayelekile ukuthi asho ukuthini. Asesibukela sibonelo lesinye mfundisi sembuto lapho khona ungakhanza kubhalwe ukuthi emalobolo akavalwe. Kulesibonelo mfundisi kufuna kwekucala nje wathi ukuthi yini emalobolo endeka nini kubani nakwende njani kuthi utokhona ukuthi wasekele kahle emaphuzu akho utawube ubhala ngemvo lese uyadi. Umbuto nase uhlatiye kahle kufuna bese ubhala sihloko ke mfundisi. Dimbili ke mfundisi tindlela lekumele utilandzele noma tekugcamisa sihloko sakho. Indlela yekucala ungasigcamisa ngekuthi usibhale ngabofele babodwa. Akumnanzi ke mfundisi ngoba soyadi ukuthi yini ifeleba. Ungasibhala ngabofele babodwa nawende njalo ke mfundisi awusidwebeli. Lenye indlela yesibili ukuthi na ukhethe kusibhala ngeluhlavu loluncane sona ke soyasidwebela mfundisi. Ngicela ukunake naloko kumcoka kakhulu. Asesibukeke nasibonelo lapho khona umfundisi atabe yakhethe kusebenzisa tihlavu lolukhulu. Ngasinza ngekulambisa noma ngasinza ngekulambisa naluhlavu lolukhulu naluhlavu loluncane. Na ukhethe kusibhala ngeluhlavu lolukhulu umfundisi awusidwebeli kepha na ukhethe kusibhala ngeluhlavu loluncane ngilapho khona ke sosidwebela. Khumbula ke mfundisi ukuthi phela lesihloko lesiconza ngco usibhala njengoba sinjalo sona nakungasisolo siconze ngco ukhiphe emagama lalayeta ukuthi yenda njani kuleyo ndzaba yakho. Sengephesa sifundvo sami ke mfundisi namuhla ngicangcizelele ukuthi kunake kusebenzisa kahle timphawu tekubhala njalo na ubhala indzaba. Njengoba sifundzile namuhla ngekusebenta kwafeleba ngci khefane bokhulunyiwe umbabati kanye nembuti. Kwesibili lesifunze ngako mfundisi kuhlatiya umbuto kucala ungakabhali isihloko sakho lele sithi naka ligama ngalinye uliconze ukuthi lishoni ngalokwetayelekile kude ungathi khanzi sewubhala indzaba lephume esihlokweni mfundisi wami noma kunhlanhlatha phela. Khumbula ukuthi dimbili tindlela longakhetha kude kugcamisa isihloko sakho kusibhala ngabofeleba ungasidwebeli noma usibhale ngeluhlavu loluncane usidwebele. Kunemsebenzi ke mfundisi ngikuphathele wona sesifike emaphethelweni nesifundvo sethu lengicela ukuthi ubhale masinyane lapho ekhaya. Kunemisho lengicela ukuthi mfundisi pheceleti ungipunctuate yona noma usebenzise letimphawu tekubhala. Sinembuto 1 nayi imibuto lapho ngithemba mfundisi oyibhalile wekucala. Ibhasi sibuko sami ifike ebusuku itolo ebhunya umfati walozaza uthwele isikhwama lesikhulukati ibhaskidi legcwele emangoza lisakale nedikotela kanye netinhlumaya uthanza liphi lijezi kulawa vusi ngimuve sekathi baleka na indzaba uchaze konakala kwesakhiwo lesengimabukwase endzaweni yangakini. Ngiyabonga mfundisi wami ngiyethemba usithokotele sifumvo sakho sanamuhla. Ngiyakucela mfundisi usibhale ubhale lo msebenzi lengikucela ukuthi ungibhalele wona uchubeke utivikele utinakekele ugcoke kahle imask yakho ugeze netandla mfundisi uhlale ekhaya. Ngiyabonga kakhulu.
Siyabonga Ncobile, isifundo sakho besimnanzi kakhulu. Sethemba ukuthi umbukele ekhaya usithokodele sesitawubona netfundweni letlandzelako.
Ngiyabonga.
Siyabonga. Mbukeli welibanga la form 4 ungayinzawo siyabuya khona manje kanye naso sifundo se religious education naThulisile Vilakati siyabuya khona manje.
Your favorite music show is back. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send in your shout-outs. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Did you think about what I said?
I did, and I've made my decision. I'm not going to wait for the courts to return my son to me. I'm going to go get him.
Ow, it hurts! Hey, I haven't even touched you yet. Stop being a baby. Kandimba! Get back here! Kandimba! Kandimba! Where are you?
What's with that face? You don't feel well? How did your interview go? Bad. Really bad. Well, I'd like to have a cup of coffee, please.
Because I want to help you out, I
Your
really
father
can't.
won't let you.
It's just that at this time, the sales of the store don't justify hiring another person, Auntie.
But if that's the issue, I could work on commission, Sarah. I already proved to you I'm a good
Look,
salesperson.
I'm really sorry, but jobs don't just pop up because people need them.
Maybe you should find someone who feels as lonely as you do. Someone who knows how to spoil you and likes it.
Welcome back to Home Study on Eswatini TV, and if you have just joined us, a very good afternoon to you. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini. Right now we are doing religious education for the Form 4s with Samukeliso Ngumalo. I know I had said Thulisile Vilakati, but I am sorry, it's actually Samukeliso Ngumalo. Also joining me in the studio is our sign language interpreter, Nombumelelo Hadebe. Samukeliso, how are you this afternoon?
I'm good, Nogwazi. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you very much. What are we learning about today on RE?
Today we are looking at the Magnificat.
Okay.
Or in other words, Mary's Song of Praise.
Oh, okay. Sounds very interesting. What are you expecting your Form 4 learners to have learned by the end of the lesson?
To know the meaning of the Magnificat.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Basically, that's it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm assuming that the Form 4s are going to need their Bibles, of course. Form 4s, I hope that you are ready for your lesson. And of course, just a reminder that we are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. If you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number. Mr. Ngumalo, you may please begin with the lesson.
Thank you very much, Nogwazi. Good afternoon, dear Form 4 learner at home. Welcome to our today's lesson, Religious Education. As they have said, my name is Samgete Somumalo. Dear learner, please make sure that you do have your notebook, your pen, and your textbook. Please turn to page 37 to 38. So the topic for today, it is the Magnificat. It is in Luke chapter 1, verse 46 to 55. Okay, Elena, let us continue.
Okay. Sorry, Samgelisa, for disturbing you. I think we need a bit of an infomercial break. Viewers at home, we'll be right back after this.
the change in technology, out-of-home digital media is designed to grab the attention of people who are always on the go. You can now watch your favorite show, Usile Breakfast Show and Dinzaba at 7 on your favorite YouTube channel.
It's simple. You can stream these shows by following these quick, easy steps. Number 1, open YouTube. Number 2, search for Eswatini TV and click on Eswatini TV. Number 3, after you had entered on Eswatini TV, look for Dinzaba or KPS. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the bell button to get notifications of our video uploads and streams. And lastly, enjoy the stream. Stay home and watch Eswatini TV. Stay safe.
Your favorite music show is back. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send in your shout-outs. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license, and
Welcome back to Home Study. You are still tuned into the religious education lesson for the Form 4s with Samgeliso Ngumalo. You may please continue with your lesson, sir.
Welcome back, dear Elena. Let us continue with our lesson. As I've said that today we are looking at the Magnificat. Dear Elena, let us start by looking at the objectives. By the end of the lesson, dear Elena, you should be able to give an account of Mary's visit to Elizabeth, explain the importance of Mary's visit to Elizabeth, outline content of the Magnificat, explain how Mary's character is revealed through the Magnificat, explain the lessons drawn from the Magnificat, then explain how Luke's characteristics are revealed in Mary's visit and the Magnificat. Let us go on, dear Elena. Let us look at the introduction. Let us recap, dear Elena, on what we learned about in the previous lesson. In the previous lesson, we talked about the Annunciation to Mary, whereby the angel visited Mary. The angel said Mary was favored, that she would conceive a son and name the son Jesus, and the son will be great. And let us continue, dear Elena. Let us look at the background of the Magnificat. What is the Magnificat? Let us look at the word there, Magnificat. Referred to as Magnificat because in Latin it means magnify, glorify, or exalt. It's also Mary's hymn of praise. Actually, it is a response to what Elizabeth said. Let us continue. It is a hymn of praise and recital of God's covenant's faithfulness. Remember, dear Elena, God promised that he would bring a Messiah. Let us continue, dear Elena. It is also Luke is the only gospel that has recorded the Magnificat. Let us move forward. Mary's visit to Elizabeth, Luke chapter 1, verse 39 to 45. After the Annunciation, we are told that Mary rose and went with haste out to the country city of Judah. Now, it is believed that this journey would take about 7 to 8 days, and it was a dangerous journey. But Mary ignored all that. Then Mary entered the house of Zachariah and greeted Elizabeth. When Elizabeth heard the greeting of Mary, the babe leaped in her womb. Elizabeth filled with a loud cry. Let us look at the verse there. What Elizabeth said. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And why is this granted to me, that the mother of my Lord come to me? For behold, when the voice of your greeting came to my ears, the babe in my womb leaped for joy. Blessed is she who is believed that there will be a fulfillment of what was spoken to her from the Lord. Let us continue, dear Elena. Now let us look at the importance of Mary's visit to Elizabeth. Number one, we are saying it strengthened the relationship between Mary and Elizabeth. Here, dear Elena, Mary and Elizabeth, they shared their wonderful stories. Mary was pregnant yet a virgin, and Elizabeth was pregnant at an old age. It also revealed Jesus' identity, as Elizabeth inquired that why is it granted to her that the mother of her Lord will come to her. Then it is the fulfillment of Old Testament prophecies, as it was prophesied that a Messiah or God will send a Messiah. Then it shows importance of family to Mary. Now, dear Elena, remember, Mary was young. She needed someone she can confide to. Let us move on, dear Elena. Now, dear Elena, before we take a look at the meaning of the Magnificat, I would like us to take a look at the following video.
And blessed is the fruit of thy womb.
Peace be upon you, dear cousin. May you be strong and blessed.
Blessed art thou among women. And blessed is the fruit of thy womb. And whence is this? That the mother of my Lord should come to me. For lo, as soon as the voice of thy salutation sounded in mine ears, the babe leaped in my womb for joy.
My soul doth magnify the Lord, and my spirit hath rejoiced in God my Saviour. For he hath regarded the low estate of his handmaiden. For behold, from henceforth all generations shall call me blessed. For he that is mighty hath done to me great things, and holy is his name. and his mercy is on them that fear him, from generation to generation. He hath showed strength with his arm. He hath scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. He hath put down the mighty from their seats, and exalted them of low degree. He hath filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he hath sent empty away. He hath holpen his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, as he spake to our fathers, to Abraham and to his seed forever.
Yes, dear Lena. Now, let us look at the meaning of the Magnificat. We are going to start with verse 46 to 48. My soul magnifies the Lord. What did Mary meant by that? Mary's soul, her innermost being exalts the Lord. She gives glory to God. Then let us look to the next verse. And my spirit has rejoiced in God my Savior. She rejoices because God has saved her, considers herself a sinner. Let us look at the next verse. For he has regarded the low estate of his handmaid. Let us look at the meaning. God cares for the lowly, poor and powerless. Mary is rejoicing in God's salvation. The next verse, for behold, henceforth all generations will call me blessed. Mary regards herself blessed. All generations, even today, they venerate her. Let us move on, dear Lena. Let us look at the following verses now. Luke 49 to 52. For he who is mighty has done great things for me, and holy is his name, and his mercy is on those who fear him from generation to generation. Let us look at the meaning. God has chosen to give her the great privilege of bearing the Messiah. The next verse, he has shown strength with his arm. He has scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. He has put down the mighty from their thrones and exalted those of low degree. The meaning there, dear Lena, God has reversed the order of things in favor of the less privileged. Lowly groups are defended by God, while the arrogant end up short of God's mercy. So all in all here, dear Lena, we see that God exalts the lowly. Moving on, dear Lena. Now Luke chapter 1 verse 53 to 55. He has filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he sent empty away. The meaning, God's ultimate justice for those who have suffered and for those who have caused the suffering. God will judge men and women according to their works. Let us look at the next verse. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, as he has spoke to our fathers, to Abraham and to his posterity forever. The meaning, Mary praises God for his faithfulness to his promises to Israel because of his mercy. Israel was still awaiting God's promised deliverance. Now, all in all, dear Lena, in this verse, it is that God promised Abraham that he will have children. Unfortunately, Abraham did not have children, but Abraham had to wait on God. And then Abraham, as it went on, there was Jacob. Jacob was Israel. It was said that Jacob will have 12 sons, and the 12 sons will make the tribes of Israel. Unfortunately, the sons, they were always fighting, and they were scoundrels. Again, God kept his promises. Then Israel became a nation. Once Israel became a nation, there was King Saul who looked the part, but he was not. Then there was King David. King David loved riches, or desire led him to his downfall. Then we've got Solomon. Solomon again was also great, but he ran after false gods, and then his children wandered. But then God continued and kept his promise that one day he's going to bring the Messiah. Then he brought salvation through Mary, who Mary bore Jesus as the Messiah. And then we see that God has kept his promise. Moving on, dear Lena. Now we look at Mary's character. Now, Mary, as we have seen in the Magnificat, we see that Mary is humble. Despite the fact that Mary was greatly blessed by God, she did not slip into the sin of pride, nor did she think that she was a favorite of God. So in other words, Mary there was so humble, or she remained humble. Again, Mary was grateful. Thanks God for choosing her to bring the Savior. Another character we see, Mary caring. Mary visited Elizabeth, her cousin, to see how she was coping. Again, dear Lena, here we see the importance of a family. Now, Mary, we are told that she went with haste to Judea to see Elizabeth, as we are told that Elizabeth got pregnant at an old age. Moving forward, dear Lena, let us look at lessons drawn, or what have we learned as we were looking at the Magnificat. So number one, we see that God exalts the humble and humbles the proud. We see that Mary was regarded as nothing in the society, but God elevated her. Again, we see that family is important. We see Mary and Elizabeth, they shared their great stories. Again, we are saying God is faithful. He keeps his promises. As we have seen, dear Lena, that God has promised that he's going to redeem Israel. We see that at the end when he brings Jesus as the Messiah. Then God does not discriminate. He chooses a peasant. So in the eyes of the Lord, we are all equal regardless of our status. Then God is powerful. With God, nothing is impossible. Moving forward, dear Lena, let us look at the characteristics of Luke's Gospel as revealed in the Magnificat. So number one characteristic we're going to look at is that it is the gospel of worship and prayer. As we saw, dear Lena, Mary magnifies God. And then another characteristic, dear Lena, we saw is the universalism. Mary calls God Savior. And then another one is gospel of the marginalized. God cares for the lowly, poor, and powerless. Moving forward, dear Lena, we'll see now another characteristics is Luke's interest in food. He has filled the hungry with good things. Another characteristics is that gospel of the Holy Spirit. When Mary greeted Elizabeth, the babe in her womb leaped for joy. Moving forward, dear Elena. Now, let us look at the assessment. Now, dear Elena, remember in our previous lesson, we talked about Roman figure 1, which is a knowledge question. There are things that we highlighted there. I hope you still remember, dear Elena. So, first question, it's outline the content of the Magnificat. Question number 2, explain lessons drawn from the Magnificat. And then evaluation question, do you think Luke's interest was only on women? Give reasons for your answer and show you have thought about different points of view. Now, dear Lena, I want us to look at the evaluation question. There are things that I want you to take note of. We are not going to discuss the answer because of time, but we are going to look at what we are expected to do. So number 1, dear Lena, evaluation question, you must always take a stand. Number 2, dear Lena, you must make sure that you put the statement of the obvious. The statement of the obvious in our lesson here, on our question is that, yes, the question says, do you think Luke's interest was only on women? Yes, I think Luke's interest was only on women. And then, dear Lena, as you continue, you must make sure that you mention your point and you support with evidence from the Bible. Then coming to the other side, dear Lena, please make sure that you now use make sure you say that the point you are talking about now, it is another person's view, not your view, as we have taken the stand in the first place. And then again, you mention your point and then you support. In that way, dear Lena, you will get all the full marks. Now, dear Lena, let us look at the conclusion. We have learned, dear Lena, about Mary's visit to Elizabeth. We have learned about the importance of Mary's visit. We have outlined the Magnificat. We have learned about Mary's character. We have looked at lessons, and also we've looked at Luke's characteristics which are revealed in Mary's visit and the Magnificat. That is all for today, dear Lena. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Samgeliso, for that lesson. We're hoping the Form 4s enjoyed it, and we'll be seeing you soon, I'm sure, for more RE.
Thank you very much. I hope so.
All right. Viewers at home, please do not go anywhere. Lerato and myself will be right back after this.
HIV kanye namalale fever.
Kubika Sibusiso Ngubane anamba Dube kaqoma indaba kalavumisa
Government of Eswatini TV ngilingithini Gule ngambonga Dube Stemba bani.
Your favorite music show is back. We're bringing you the hottest music videos and live studio interviews with your favorite celebrities. We're giving you a front row seat to the latest fashion trends as well as your weekend gig guide. Join us live on social media and call in to send in your shout-outs. Catch This Weekend Eswatini every Friday at 5:30 p.m. live on Eswatini TV.
Welcome back to our viewers. Unfortunately, that was the last lesson for the day. We're hoping that you had a beautiful Tuesday afternoon of learning. What does our Wednesday look like tomorrow?
Well, from 2 p.m. until 2:30 p.m. we have mathematics for the grade 1s and 2s. From 2:30 p.m. until 3 p.m. we have practical arts for the grade 3s and 4s. From 3 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. we have science for the grade 5s and 6s. From 3:30 p.m. until 4 p.m. we have literature for the form 1s and 2s. From 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. we have biology for the form 4s. From 4:30 p.m. until 5 p.m. we have chemistry for the form 4 learners.
Yes, that is what your day looks like tomorrow. And a reminder about our social media platforms. We are live, on YouTube and on Facebook from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. from Monday until Friday. So tomorrow, 2 p.m. sharp, we will be live on YouTube and on Facebook. And a reminder about our WhatsApp number that pops up on your screen from time to time. Please use it to text us.